All right, I think we're live, man. I was having a bit of problems there, right, with the whole thing again, man. I've just come back from Thailand, all over the place. So, wait a minute, doing the now. I'm going to do this. I do this every week, right? Could please people put in the comment, can you hear us? Can you see us? Because I don't know what the hell's going on here, but we got already a few people in there. Rocco Andy, Peter Bluebag, Chicho Dan's there. Welcome back. Yeah, we're back. And yeah, so everyone, welcome. First of all, Andy.
Rocco.
Good to see you. It's been 4 weeks.
It has been.
It's been 4 weeks, yeah. So
where you been, mate?
Well, you know where I went. I went to Thailand.
We'll get there,
We'll talk a little bit of Thailand. But tonight, I've got a very special guest.
That's me.
That's you, mate. We got you. No, you're the special guest. So I've been pumping this one here. I've been really looking forward to this. So, so this is Antonio. I'm going to call you Tony, but it's Antonio Iannella, isn't it?
Iannella, yes.
Iannella, like the thing. And he's the author of this Saigon Siren. So, you know what? Why don't I just do the right thing here? And I think I've got the... I can't see here. I think it's this one here. There you go. There's the book. There's the book. And this is the author we've got here. And this is so... And we'll get stuck right into about your story.
Sure.
And about our life, you know. I was going to say that me and Tony... We've known each other since we were 15.
Yes.
So we've known each other like 40 years, you know.
That's pretty cool.
Crazy, isn't that crazy?
That's longer than I've been alive.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. That's and amazing. Then, so we've had a pretty interesting...
yeah, we used to knock around a lot together.
A lot.
15s.
A lot. We used to DJ. He was a DJ too.
Yeah.
He was a DJ, yeah. So, well, why don't we... What I want to do is, I don't know where to start. You know where we're going to start?
You're all over the place today,
I don't know what to fucking do.
We haven't even introduced the show.
No, everyone, welcome to Unfiltered. Where nothing is off limits, yeah. So where nothing is off limits. So, yeah, I'm all over the place. I mean, I just got back on Friday.
How was it?
Jet lagged?
Not really. It's only 4 hours, so it's not too bad, you know. So, loud and clear, beautiful. I love Thailand. You know me, I love Thailand. It's my partner's from there, you know what I mean. So I go there every year, you know what I mean. I spend a long time there, you know, like 4 or 5 weeks at a time, you know. And we go travelling around. So we went to Hua Hin, we went to Bangkok, we drove around. So it's good. I love it. I love the food. I love the people. You know me, I'm going to move there one day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be doing this from over there on the beach, man. I'm telling you, that's what it's going to be. So, yeah, I loved it. It was a good getaway. I think I spoke to you. I might have spoken to you straight after when I got back. I've been depressed for 2 days, man.
How bad is it?
Bad.
Any holiday I've ever had, I come back miserable.
It's bad, man.
Like, because
you just keep thinking about what you've just done. So it's really, really like depressing, and then I had to go work the next day, and that's even worse, man. Yeah, the next day, 5 o'clock in the morning, like it was bad, you know. Yeah. And then another thing about Thailand and Melbourne, what happens is you go out and you go out to dinner or lunch. And you start comparing the prices straight away. You start looking, look at this, this is bullshit, mate. I was only paying $10 for this. Now it's costing me like 60. Like it's ridiculous, you know.
Crazy.
So you start doing all that kind of stuff, you know. So
you almost need a holiday from a holiday. So you take a holiday and then a little break that just brings you, steps you down, and then down to reality.
And then down to reality, and then bang, you cop reality. Go back to work, pay the bills. You know what I mean?
Go back into that machine.
Yeah, back into the rat race. Yeah. That's what I call it. It's just this continuous. I feel like a rat on that
wheel,
man, and I'm not getting anywhere. You know what I mean? So we're doing that.
Good to have you back, mate. We missed you.
Yeah. I've missed everyone today too. I've missed doing this, especially. You know what I mean? Getting together every week, and you know, I haven't even caught up in the footy. I know what's happened.
Yeah.
But I didn't I didn't watch anything. I don't really care, you know what I mean? Like, when it's time, it's time.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll come, you know.
I've tried to kind of...
Yeah, you need that break.
Passive, yeah.
You need that break.
Yeah, it has, look, having the 3 weeks kind of off, you know, like off 3 weeks, I kind of needed it. I didn't realise how much I needed just a bit of away time.
That's what I say to people. Like when Jumper Punch finishes, I don't want to know anymore because and because like our two shows. You're so embedded in the football. It's not just going to the game. Nah. Then you're analysing, and then you're talking about it, and you're getting ready for the next week. And it just, I'm telling you, man, it's tough, man.
It's the whole week. It's just
it's just constant.
Yeah, and then you begin again, and from the same.
Never stops.
Literally 6 months. 6 months. Yeah.
6 months just doesn't stop. Constant. You know.
Hey, but we love it.
Yeah, no, I do.
We love it. You know. Okay. It's just it's nice to.
But that's the beauty, you know, when you love something and you do it out of passion, you can't put a time frame on it.
Exactly.
You just got to do what it takes.
100%, man.
Yeah.
100%. Everyone.
Salute. Cheers.
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 Cheers. Everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
I love this shit.
That's the Hennessy.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I'll go back to the other one, but the Hennessy, man, that's the bee's knees, man.
Nice.
Hennessy is awesome.
Yeah. So
it's your favourite?
Hennessy is my favourite.
Yeah, it's a nice.
Hennessy is
my
favourite.
Drop, man.
It's a dangerous drink for me.
Okay.
It messes with my mental state a bit.
Yeah, no, it's
it doesn't take much to mess with my mental state.
We let's first of all, I can't see now. I need to get bloody thing. All right. So first of all, just a quick few fucking things to get out of the way, just in case everyone wants to bloody get in contact with us, whatever. We've got our email. Everyone be part of it. You go to thejumperpunch@gmail.com. Mate, you got a question, you got a video, you want to talk about something, you need something, mate, you just want to talk. You're the same at the Monday Blues, man.
Absolutely, hit us up.
Man.
Hit us up on Instagram, on YouTube, Monday Blues
man.
Podcast.
That's what we're here for, you know. And also, trust me, we haven't forgotten. Huh?
Live show.
The live show, the 24-hour live stream, yeah. So that's coming.
You got a date yet?
Nah, because Paul's in England at the moment.
I saw that, yeah.
I've just come back. Yeah. Mars come back last week from Japan. Congratulations to Mars and Taylor. Mars. They got engaged.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got engaged. How's that?
Congratulations, Rocco.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so my daughter got engaged with Mars over in Japan. Yeah, so
was it planned? Did you know about it?
I knew about it. Yeah, she didn't know about it. Yeah, so he let me know.
Did he come and ask permission? Did he go, Rocco?
Well, he didn't ask permission, but he said like he got me and the mum on a call and said this is what I want to do. You know.
Beautiful. That's awesome. What are you looking at? What's got your attention?
Nah, just rubbish. So I forget what. So the live stream, I reckon in a couple of weeks it'll get done.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be good. So what we're going to do is we're doing a 24-hour live.
You said that, but I can't wrap my head around what that means.
24 hours, we're going to be on camera.
And what
so there's going to be a whole bunch of us.
So it's constantly going. What happens with sleep and then
no sleep. So me and Mars will probably be there for the whole time. Paul has to go to work, but he'll come back. He'll pop in and out. We got everyone just popping in and out. It's going to be at Mars's house. Chit chat talk. We got challenges. We're just going to do it. We got 24 in 24. We're giving away merch. One bit of merch every hour. We'll give away things, and we just talk. We're going to watch some sport.
I haven't forgotten Seba.
Yeah. He said the slab.
Drink a slab in an hour. Was it?
100%.
I think he's going to drink a slab in an hour.
A slab in an hour, yeah.
So, Seba, if you're watching, I haven't forgotten, mate.
On camera?
Yeah, he wants to drink it in an hour. So.
It could go either way.
It's going to be pretty.
It could go either way.
Once you make it, mate, you got to do it,
work out how much is that per 15 minutes or per...
Well, if it's 60, like you got every 5, would be like fucking, what's that? What's that, 5, 10? That's about...
So it's 6 litres.
No, I'm saying how many cans per 15 minutes? You'd have one about what? 24 cans?
24. You need one every 3 minutes.
Yeah, one every 3 minutes. That's...
No, I don't think he can do it. I don't think he can do it.
I don't think he can.
No.
I don't think he can.
I have to eat a pavlova. Mars is going to eat like 30 junior burgers.
Yeah. Tell you what, I wouldn't mind eating a pavlova.
Yeah,
I reckon you got it off easy.
Mate, they reckon I can't do it. I'm saying, mate, I'm telling you, I reckon I could eat a whole pavlova. I think he's giving me 2 hours. That's easy.
Well, you do it in half an hour.
I reckon
so. It's light.
Easy.
Yeah. It's light.
I might shit my pants later.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lactose intolerant, man. So we got that. So while we're there, right? So what? All right. So I did go to Thailand before we get onto the other stuff. I went to Thailand, you know that. And what I did was I took a whole bunch of videos, just of the whole place, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bit of I call them vlogs. I know they're vlogs, but my version is the vlog, and I'm going to do a whole series of videos. I'm going to prepare them all, but I'll put together just a little bit, and everyone tell me if you want this to happen, right? I'll let you know. I think it's...
I always worry when he plays stuff without telling me. It could go any way.
No.
Especially a Thailand video.
I can't see. I really can't see. This is bad, mate.
Told you to get some glasses, dude.
Yeah, I know. All right, here it is. Everyone have a look at this.
This all that we just showed you and everything, and the two coconut juices. See there, juices here, with the hot food, all of that.
So that'll cost you about, what, $3?
It was about $18.
Are you on one too? Yeah.
I'm pretty careful.
Look at this one here. This one's like the male one.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Look at this one. He's the dominant one. So everyone's scared of him. The size of the ball. Yeah, look at the teeth. Did you see those? Done.
Big teeth, like long.
I see. Anyway, we're just about to park. See how we all the boat is.
Yeah.
You heard the German one? Rushed over everyone. He was just telling everyone how many people he's going to maximise his fucking things over, as you can see. On our way back, let's hope the main thing is this blood is super.
There you go. There was just a little clip. Like, I did videos everywhere. We went to Hua Hin. We went to like Bangkok. Bangkok's a very interesting place to take videos of, as you know. So I'm going to do a whole bunch of like videos and put them out there. And
hey mate, bring it.
Do the Rocco version of Thailand. Yeah. So I always have a bit of fun with all the people there. You know. So
bring it.
We'll do that. So yeah, we'll do that. Does everyone want to see that? 10 minutes. Oh, Pablo, Rocco's going full on at the refugee. Yeah, I know, it was a bit like a refugee boat, just quietly, man. You should have seen it. It was packed, mate. And you know what spun me out? There was all these people there, right? They put the life jacket, but they don't tie it up. I go, this boat goes down, man. I'm not saving you. I'm going to kick you. Like, I'm not fucking saving you, mate. Like, I'm telling you right now, mate. Like, I know it's kind of safe, but... Be careful, man. Tie up the fucking thing, mate. Don't be a smart.
It comes with age, because once upon a time you get an aeroplane, you never used to tuck.
Now I fucking pull it. And even when I get back in, I used to when the seatbelt sign used to be off, you used to take it off like a hero.
You keep it on.
Yeah. Wait to get that one bit of turbulence, and then you put the thing back on there, man. Because you can get thrown around big time on a plane.
I've been on a plane thrown around.
I've been alright.
Have you?
I've been alright.
Nah, usually not bad, you know. I've never had really problem, but you get that little bit every once in a while where you move and you go, man, if that thing like drops.
Yeah, I've had that. I've been on a flight where it's dropped.
Yeah. You'll hit it, you know, if they hit a hair pocket. But anyway, I've never really had any problems. So, all right. So me and Tony have known each other for a really long time, man. It's like when we were 15. So I thought we'd put some photos together of me and Tony in the junior days.
Let me see.
Are you ready for this?
Have you seen them?
Okay. I have not.
All right, so this is us in our younger days, mate. This is me and Tony. Everyone have a look at this, mate. Look at us.
Studs, eh?
Look at this, mate. So this was in my bedroom, huh? We had the DJ set up there. We played around, mate, practicing, getting ready for the big gigs.
You notice on that photo on the left where it's scratching? I think that was the first time someone scratched.
I just had to bring
that photo went viral and it became
100%, man. We started all that, man. We're talking the 80s there, and then we got what else have we got here? Oh, this is us practicing actually with our. What kind of turntables and that were they? You would know. Do you remember?
Yeah, one was there was just tech. No, weren't Technics, just TAC.
Like a TAC. One was a TAC for sure.
One had the pitch control.
Yeah.
And the other one didn't. We used to slow it down by slow it down.
That's right. You had to slow it down with the
Sometimes
finger.
you go. You grip it too much, and that's what we did.
Oh,
Old
no.
school, man.
Yeah.
And then I suppose we got this.
You guys aren't just
Look at
right.
this, us DJing, and that's us, mate. Limited edition, we were called.
That was an actual
Was
gig.
that your
Yeah, that was our
limited edition? That's fantastic.
Yeah, can you notice that right at the front of the console is a skeleton?
Yeah, the skull.
Yes.
The skull.
Yes.
I can tell you about where we got the skull from. I'll tell you in a sec, man. That's a good story, though. And then what else we got here? Oh, there's a skull. There's us DJing again. That's a big setup we done. I remember we spent a lot of time doing. I actually remember that gig there.
Yeah.
That was at Things Pub, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at it's actually, it was Cornish Arms on Sydney Road, Brunswick.
I like Cornish
Yeah.
Arms.
It was a New Year's party, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a New Year's party.
It was a New Year's Eve gig, yeah.
That's awesome.
I think we were underage, but you know.
Yeah, we're underage, of course. And that's us after. Look at that. Look at Tony there. Look at that set of hair, mate. Fucking where did that go, mate? Look at me, mate. I'm a bella finu there, mate. How skinny am I there, mate? Like, that's like
You look much the same, mate.
Yeah. And then have I got any more? I don't bloody see. No, that's it. So we just got that. So there's some photos of us. So
That's awesome.
So as I said, me and Tony have known each other a fucking long time, man. We had a lot of good times, man. So partied up since 15, like for years, man. Just every
How'd you guys meet at school?
Just school.
Sort of school, yeah. I've done. I think we discovered we went to the same school.
Yeah.
But we met through
Another friend.
Another friend, and then we discovered we went to the same school.
Yeah, another friend, and then I think we started going out to the Venator Club, like the underage disco there, and that's the first time, and then that's it.
It was, like you do in those days. It was a circle of us. There was a few of us, and the group grew as we got a bit older.
Yeah.
It's good times, man. Really good times.
That's awesome.
And then we DJ together, you know what I mean? Joe from Bangkok's there. Hi, Joe. So, here he goes. The Aussie team are useless. Me and him have been going in and out. They got smashed.
Hopeless.
They got smashed. But they'll be back. They'll be back. That late test, they'll be back, man.
I don't rate them.
The night test, they'll be back.
I hope so. But
They can't get beaten with the ping ball. You got to remember, India lost 3-0 to New Zealand only a week ago.
I know. India also put us to the sword.
They did.
So
It's only 2 days bad. 2 days.
the test went for 4.
Half of it was bad, half of it was bad. But we'll get stuck into a bit of this. I think people want to hear about this. So,
I mean, so do I, yeah.
Yeah. So this is Tony's story. It's called Saigon Siren because now what we got to do. The link is below. Everyone get onto it. I think the book's like $23 or something, man. And I'm gonna put something out here. I've read the whole book, and I've told you about it. I loved it, and I'll put a thing out. Anyone that buys the book, right? And if you come back and you say it doesn't move you or affected you some way, I will refund the money. I'm guaranteed I will refund the money if you honestly tell me that this book didn't do something for you. It is amazingly written. I'm surprised and not surprised, Tony, because I know how talented you are. You're a musician, guitarist, you're in a band. You know what I mean? You produced music, you've done all that. I knew how talented you were, but to write a book and then to come out as good as this is, it's amazingly written, man.
Cheers, babe.
Absolutely amazingly written. And it's called Saigon Siren because it happened in Vietnam.
Yes, there's a play on words. I don't know if I told you this, but Saigon Siren. How the idea come to me was Saigon has been renamed Ho Chi Minh City after the war, right after the Vietnam War. And when I collapsed, I was rushed to Saigon from this little village in an ambulance, and there wasn't a siren. So the idea of Saigon not existing, the siren not existing, and I put the two together, Saigon Siren.
Wow.
I love it. I love the artwork, and I know we've talked about the artwork, and the artwork also, this isn't like you just scribbled it. Like there's thought put into that artwork, and if you explain it, you can see like there's like one side of your face.
Yeah. Because it's supposed to reflect this eye, because I have problems with this eye. Yeah. So one closed eye, and I'm deaf in this ear, so the one ear, and effectively it's a brain as well. And then there's the heart and the tear. So it's I put a lot of thought into the artwork. Yeah. And a lot of work. Took me weeks to create.
It's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful looking book.
But you know what? Hey, the more I look at it, I feel like the more I'm starting to look like that.
Yeah, you are a bit actually, just kind of a bit sideways there. No, it's a beautiful arena, and as I said, everyone. Now, what we're going to do too, Tony's been good enough to give us 3 books. So I want everyone to purchase a book, man, first of all. Don't be tight asses. I'm telling you now, you know me, man. Don't be a fucking tight ass, man. Start purchasing the book. But not only that, we will give away 3 books. Make people ask questions. Yeah. And the best questions and that throughout the night, we'll give away some books, you know. Absolutely. What I mean? And I'm telling you, again, I can't really, and we'll go through it now, and I'll go through some parts that I want to talk about. But let's, and then you were a musician and all that. You used to play guitar. You know, one of the big tragedies, I think, out of all this was you couldn't play your guitar anymore, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you loved your guitar, I know that. But we'll get into that, and we'll get into what you did after the stroke. But let's get straight into it, man. Like, I want to go, let's get straight into that day.
Yeah, that day when I collapsed.
That day. It was what do you call it? You call it AS? Or
it's the transition is from the BS, being before stroke, and then into the AS, which is after stroke. And I just use that analogy to describe that transition.
Yeah.
Excuse me, because effectively it was kind of like that. It was like the line in the sand. And the first chapter, well, there's the prologue, but the first chapter is called Line in the Sand, which is effectively that, that crossing. And it happened in the morning, so everything was fine. We're in the last day of our holiday in Vietnam. I was really looking forward to this part because when I went to school, do you remember social studies? We used to study Vietnam and all. I had a bit of a fascination. I love the music that it inspired, that generation of course. That sort of hippie style of music.
The 70s and that,
Loved that. And so I was really looking forward to going to see those underground war tunnels that the Vietnamese built during the war. And they used to live in those tunnels for like that war went for 25 years. So they lived in those tunnels. It was the last leg of the tour. I was looking forward to crawl in, and apparently I didn't get to go into the tunnels, but the tunnels are like this big. You got to crawl on your hands and knees through them. And we just arrived. It was at 10 o'clock in the morning or something, 10:30. Stepped off the bus, and the first thing I noticed was, I remember we were on the bus pulled up, everyone got off, and I was just sorting my bags out, and I felt this tingle in my left palm and some rumbling in my ears. I just, when you get those...
So the rumbling, I've heard you say that, what was this rumbling like? What did it sound like?
It was like a distortion,
Really?
Yeah, it's like a distortion, really. And I just went, I sort of clenched the hand and went, and I was literally right at the steps. I stepped down and the bus took off, and then I went in and then went into the...
Did you feel better after that?
Yeah, I felt normal.
Yeah.
I didn't even think again about it.
Just came and went.
Yeah, it was that split. 3 seconds, and then felt normal. Entered into the grounds, walked through the sort of the pathway that someone directed us to go over there, and we entered like this shelter to watch footage of the war. Yep. So a bit of a bit of history about the war before we entered into the tunnels, and that's when I felt dizzy and a little bit things just started not to make sense. I was starting to go, we're talking to these people sitting in front of us, and I couldn't quite understand what they were saying. I just thought I was dehydrated or something, and I got to get outside. I went outside, and that's when it began. And it was like a wave. It began. Well, first I began to feel really weak, and then they got me to a first aid bay. And then it literally began, like I've written in the book, it began in my left foot, and it's like this crazy, crazy pins and needles, like really intense. And it just climbed up my knee, and the first thing I remember, I was sitting on this table, I had this hand like that, and I was kind of trying to, just trying to disengage the spinning surroundings, and this knee collapsed, it just lost it, and then this arm dropped, and then my body just turned to jelly within 3 minutes, and the nurse, there was a first aid nurse, and he was just trying to hold me up because I couldn't even sit up. I just become literally like lost all composure, and he was holding me up, and a couple of people volunteered to they had to drag me, literally drag me, because you know that saying, dead weight. Yeah,
that's you.
I was a dead weight. We say it so often, but you don't realise once you lose control of your body, you become just weight.
Yeah,
that's it. Because you can't participate in being carried.
Can't think in anything.
Can't do nothing.
Yeah.
And all I remember was I could see the ground in front of me because they were dragging me like face down, like they had their hands under my armpits, and they were just dragging me. And all I could see was the ground, and things were blurry, and I couldn't quite make sense of what was happening. And then they got me on a tour bus into a clinic, and then the clinic checking me out. And then that's when they rushed me to Saigon.
Yeah,
where the title come from.
And you were saying, I remember you were saying you'd been bitten a few days prior, and you was thinking that it was the bite of this spider or whatever it was, and you kept saying that, didn't you?
That's right, because you know how you said earlier, when you're in those countries, you wear shorts. And, I was wearing just thongs, and I had a bite on my right foot, and it was quite evident. You could see it, but it wasn't. It turned. I wish it was that.
Yeah, that's right.
We wouldn't be here if it was that. So,
that's right.
But, so it wasn't that. It was obviously what happened, and
so when did you find out it was a stroke that you had?
Pretty much as soon as I got to the Saigon hospital, they put me in for an immediate MRI, and they were able to determine that I had a bleed. So if we break it right down, I had a stroke, but a stroke is like an umbrella term. I effectively had a brain hemorrhage, and a brain hemorrhage caused by a weak vein, which is called, the condition I have is called arterial venous malformation. AVM is the acronym. And
you're born with that?
Yeah, I was just born, and apparently 1% of the global population are born with an AVM.
Yeah.
And then you know how your statistics you narrow them down, and then with the type I had, with the location, it's such a slim chance of having that kind of stroke. And because I had mine in brain stem. Brain stem is about this wide, and all of your brain's function passes through the brain stem and communicates through your body. That's why it caused so much damage. And what I learned later was 1 in 5 only survive a brainstem hemorrhage, and and again, statistics, and of that 1%, most of them are left lifelong vegetables, where they just can't function. So you look at all those things, wow, just such slim chances that I survived. But
and they said it and just quickly, mind you were there with, at the time, your wife and 3 kids.
And 3 daughters.
And one was like
a 10-month-old.
10-month-old.
Yeah, so literally in a pram, and
so you had to do that.
We used to travel. And,
might be a silly question, but what was going, I don't know if you're the right person to answer, what was going through your wife's head at that point?
Yeah, there's a section I wrote a chapter where I interviewed her.
Yeah.
She just explained her perspective, and she kind of filled in some of the gaps that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
And what I thought happened sort of didn't happen, and strung it together. But although I was conscious, and I could sort of grasp what was going on, but things felt like I was like in this. The analogy, I've used so many analogies in the book, but the one I've been using lately is like I was in this bubble of gel, clear gel, and everything just seemed muffled and disconnected, and like I couldn't reach it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I could sort of get a grasp, and then there was blank spells, and so it was kind of like that. But I was able to piece it all together and write the book.
Yeah, the book was amazing, and I said to you when I was reading it, I can't believe you remember so much about it, because the book's written like years later. I mean, it takes years to write a book. I mean, you have to first start writing, and then it took 10 years before you actually finished it. You know what I mean? But you said you got a fairly good memory, and then just piecing everyone, talking to people, like you put it all together. It took also like over an hour to get to the hospital, didn't it?
Yeah, because we were about 75 kilometres, if I'm correct.
So now, I just want everyone to understand, you're not in an ambulance, you're in a bus.
It was, they called it an ambulance, because when we got to the clinic. It was like a little rural. I thought it was a hospital, but I discovered later it was just a basic doctor's, a rural. I hate that word. I can't get it out. Rural clinic.
Rural, yeah.
And it was just basic doctors, and no one spoke English, and it was chaos.
Yeah.
It was chaos. We're trying to just understand, and I could just hear noise, and everything was silhouetted. I couldn't make out faces, so it took from there. They put me in what they called an ambulance, but my memory is it wasn't really an ambulance. It looked like more just like a courier's van with a bed and just some like a gas.
Getting thrown around a bit.
Yeah, all I remember was just that.
Yeah.
Just getting thrown around and that, and I just remember my daughter's mother, and she was beside me, and then I found out later that the tour guide was in the bus in the ambulance as well. I didn't realise, and my other two daughters were up the front. So just, that's how it was. I pieced it all. It was honestly like when I was riding, I had to go through it, a lot of it, and piece it together, and just go. I didn't remember so much what happened. I remembered feelings, emotions, and sensations, and glimpses of images. Like in the ambulance, I kind of remember just the light coming in through the windows, and for some reason it was blue. I don't know why, but in my head it was blue. So that's how I pieced it all together. Just snapshots and when you're writing a story, that's what it is. You're trying to piece it all together, and find a way that it becomes coherent.
Yeah.
So from that moment where you reach that hospital, how long do you then spend in Vietnam before you come back to Australia?
9 days in total from that point.
And were you okay? Were you okay to fly?
It's a bit of a tricky one because I was 5 days in ICU, and it was just clinging on to life, and had the what do they call it? The apparatus for breathing, the ventilator, and all the wires on my chest with the beep, and So there was about.
Multiple strokes.
No, I had one.
You had one.
One stroke.
And that's but that was saying the first 72 hours, was so critical.
Yeah, it's critical. That's right. Because with any, I think with any.
I suppose.
But it was because I remember, if you remember bits in the book about that 72-hour critical watch period.
Yes.
And because what happened as well to add more difficulty to the situation was, I contracted pneumonia at the same time. So I'm in ICU. The doctor has discovered I've got pneumonia, and like I was saying about piecing bits together, I just remember him yelling at the nurse, and that's how I come up with the nickname. Because in the book, what I decided to do was give everyone nicknames rather than saying Dr. Joe Bloggs.
To tell you the truth, it's a brilliant idea that he's done. What nickname did you give him?
Napoleon.
Yeah.
Now,
because he was from France.
Napoleon Bonaparte, being the French emperor back in 1900s, 1400, whatever it was. and because he was French, the doctor was French, I just gave him, and that scene is the reason I gave him that name, because he was a lovely man. But that scene where he was yelling at the nurse, and I just remember glimpses of him saying, "What are you doing, you silly woman? He could die." Like that. That's what. And then he said that, and he come over to me and he put his hand on my chest and he just whispered in my ear in his French accent, "You're just breathing enough to stay alive." That's what he whispered. And I know that's probably not a good thing to say, but you got to remember there's the language breakdown. So to him, that's a direct translation. Whereas if it was us, we would say it with a bit more, diplomacy. So 100%. I remember, but I just remember, and that's how I got the nickname. I thought, and that's where it began. The nicknames. I just thought of that, and and that's what happens. You ride and you trigger these little ideas. Napoleon. And bang, and then I thought I'm going to just name
and you gave, and we'll go through. You gave some names to some of the other doctors that they're brilliant, but so you had the ammonia.
Yeah, to answer. Answering Andy's question.
They were putting a tube down your throat to suck out the mucus and that.
Yeah, because I couldn't swallow, so I didn't have the ability. I didn't have no ability at all. I couldn't do anything. All I could do was I couldn't even swallow. I couldn't barely breathe.
You can't see?
Couldn't see. Everything was a blur.
You couldn't hear?
Couldn't hear. I just heard.
And you couldn't move?
In my head. Yeah, so I'm literally just lying there, and they were sucking the phlegm out of my throat. Oh, that was so painful. So they'd have to put a hose down my throat and suck, and you're like, and I'm like, but this is the weird bit. My thought process was still okay. It was cloudy, but I'm like, I'll be there going, "What the fuck are you doing, woman? Get that thing out of my throat," but I can't move, and she's sucking the phlegm, and you
can't talk.
I can't talk, and it's hurting like hell.
That's
and
crazy.
and they had to do that every hour because I was going to choke. So they had to do that every hour, and your throat just gets really tender.
Well, yes, definitely going in and out of consciousness. Or
So yeah, there was times where I drift in and out and not remember where I was and what was going on, and it was that cloudiness. But then there was days where, or hours, I should say, I had a lot of clarity. I could sort of grasp what was going on, and
do you think to yourself you're going to die?
Yeah, I did think that. I did think I was going to die. Well, sort of.
Yeah.
I don't know if just
Did you?
I was fearing that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I was just about to ask you. I don't even know how to ask this question, but like, when you come to terms with the fact that this might be it for me, what goes through your head, even in that capacity where you probably don't even know what's happening?
Yeah.
When you kind of realise, shit, I might die here, how do you feel in that moment? How do you...
I think for me it was more of, it's kind of like just holding on for what, just holding on, not physically like clenching, but just keeping still and just thinking, just trying to think, I just got to get over this, I just got to get out the other side, I'll be okay. But also then it was mixed emotions, I'd be feeling like that, and then I'd be fearing I was going to die, and then little things like my daughters would come into ICU and I could just see their heads, I could just blurred visions of their heads beside the bed, things like that. So it was so many mixed emotions, and then and then once I could just wiggle my little finger, my hand, or move my hand, I started to become hopeful.
Yeah,
not like hope.
So every little improvement gives you hope.
Yeah, tiny little bit of hope. Okay, I can move my fingers. I can scratch my nose.
Yeah,
I can press the call button. Things like that. So,
do you think when things, maybe this a bit further ahead, but I want to go back to something, but do you think that you're going to make a full recovery? Like, when you're getting a little bit better and you started moving your arm, maybe seeing a little bit, do you start thinking, I'm going to make a full recovery now?
Yeah, I kind of, yes, that was the target, was making a full recovery, was the target, without knowing what that meant, being like, because I wasn't able to walk at that stage, and I wasn't able to, so, I don't know. To me, it just felt like this is what I needed to do. And when I've been speaking to people recently, like I was saying to you earlier, doing all those podcasts, and I've done quite a few podcasts with stroke organisations, and they're like, you were already thinking that in rehab that you're going to make a full recovery and you're going to start making music. I'm going, that's just how my brain works. I'm thinking, what can I do? Okay, I can't do that. What can I do? That's how I operate. And they're like, wow, that's crazy. That's amazing. Most people take years to work that out. I'm like, it just feels natural. So
maybe that was one of the reasons.
I don't know,
you worked hard.
I don't know what it was, but it just gave me that, just working towards things, just trying to get, okay. And I remember things like just wanting to achieve the very next thing. I didn't think about walking. I just wanted to achieve sitting up. Then when I could sit up, I wanted to achieve being able to get out of bed on my own into the wheelchair. And then I did that, and then things started to change, because then I could sit in the armchair by the window and have my dinner while I was in hospital. And then all of a sudden, that's like, look what I'm doing here. I'm having dinner. It's great, but it just felt like that.
Well, little wins,
it's amazing because, like, we can't possibly understand, you know what I mean? But all of a sudden, those things that come natural and normal to you, as to, like when you're fit and healthy, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, sitting up is a massive thing, you know what I mean? Or moving your finger was a massive thing.
Yeah,
Can I go into something else that a thing? Now, did you take out insurance?
No. No travel insurance.
No travel insurance.
Didn't. But kind of discovered that even if we had, it may not have covered anything because of the circumstance. And like apparently with, I don't know, maybe this is what I was told, but
yes, maybe no.
Some insurances, unless you have a specific insurance, always the fine print.
Who knows? But regardless,
I didn't answer Andy's question.
Oh, what was Andy's question?
9 days. 9 days, and then I was able to 5 days in ICU, 4 days in a ward, and then my pneumonia was manageable, and a rescue flight with a doctor and nurse. That's where the big cost was.
and your wife at the time had to organise, while you're in ICU, she's had to organise trying to get funds, working out,
That's all going on behind the scenes, which I had no idea.
Well, of course. Imagine you trying to work stuff out. You know? Like, excuse me, but so then all of a sudden you've got to, or you know, your family's got to work out. Your brother, he's
flown over to help out. It was, you know, it's crazy.
Because the main thing is to get you back to Australia now.
That's because I desperately wanted that, because I was like, they looked after me, they cared for me really well, but there were things like they couldn't get the intravenous line into my wrist, so they put it into my neck, and I had, you know, like puncture marks in my wrist because it felt very, just, you know, just some of those procedures were a little bit less than
dodgy,
below our
maybe.
standards.
Yeah.
So I was starting to fear those kind of things, and
plus you just want to be home.
I wanted to be home. I couldn't understand. I couldn't work out what they were saying, and it was playing tricks with my mind. I couldn't work out, was it me? And there's that bit I write about. They bring the television into. The nurses decide to bring a TV into ICU, and they turn it on, and it's flipping me out because I'm like, I can't work it. I can't see the screen because it just looked like fuzzy lines, and it's in Vietnamese, and I couldn't work out. It was I couldn't understand what they were saying, or is it in Vietnamese? I couldn't make the correlation that I was in Vietnam. It just wouldn't click in my head. And I just asked them to, you know, just like, you know, that needs to go, and they got rid of it. So there was all that going on. So that just made me desperate, and you know, I was really vulnerable, feeling so vulnerable that I just needed to be at home and feel safe.
So what's the process once you're in Australia? What happens then?
Way before that, because I've read the book, because we'll get to that bit there.
Don't give up everything in the book.
He's going to give it all away. They're not going to buy it. They're going to just go, we know what happened.
Because the way it's written, trust me, like you're...
Chuck some questions in the comments. We're giving away 3 books to the best comments, so feel free to ask questions.
You couldn't go to the toilet either, could you?
Oh, no, I couldn't. So I had to, first of all, they had to put, that scene in the book. Where
I don't know. Well, it's in the book, so what's the difference? You might as well talk about it.
Yeah, but I couldn't go to the bathroom, so I couldn't relieve myself. So I just didn't have the ability, lost full function. So they had to put a catheter in first, and that whole process because they didn't work out, because they were pumping fluids, because I hadn't eaten for 3 days. So they're pumping fluids into my body, keep me hydrated, get me fed, but they didn't work out, well, maybe he's going to have to go to the toilet at some point. But I couldn't. It wouldn't come out. I was going to explode. I was, screaming and squirming. They come in, and the nurses...
tell them.
Yeah, and they couldn't understand me. I couldn't
not
speak.
only you can't tell them, you can't speak their language, so that's even worse now.
Yeah, so they finally got a catheter in, and it was like, there was that, and then I had to wear a diaper, and there was a crazy you just got to read it. Mm-hmm. There's a crazy scene with a diaper. So yeah, there's so many little things that happen that I just got to get home. I just need to get home.
Yeah. So once you're home, what's the process?
Well, so the rescue flight got me home. They had to cherry pick me off the aeroplane from a wheelchair. Then
again, you can't move it.
I could. By that stage, I had, because once they moved me out of ICU. The microphone's here. They moved me out of ICU on the 5th or 6th day, and I was in just a ward. By that stage, I had some function to this hand, and I was starting to do physio, like just lying there, and the physio would come in and get me to move my leg and rotate the foot, just real basic stuff. So I had that. Cloudiness began to settle a little bit. I began to start to shape some words a little bit better, could understand a bit better. So that's when they got me. The rescue flight got me home, and then it was straight into Royal Melbourne Hospital here in the city, and it was just then it began all the tests, all the MRIs, and going through all the procedures as they did in Vietnam.
Yeah. And then
that's crazy.
And they still didn't know exactly
They still couldn't work out why it happened. They knew what happened, but they didn't know why it happened. And it took 2-3 MRIs and then an angiogram. You know what that is? Oh my God! Yuck! It's horrible.
He explained it like, you know what?
They cut an incision here into your groin, into a vein called the aorta. The aorta runs blood, feeds blood through your heart and brain, through your body, and then they shove or push a vessel that's connected to a tube up the aorta into the base of your brain, and they inject dye into your brain. The dye circles through your brain, the vascular system in your brain, and it's like the craziest head spin. You see, I was talking to a friend about it because he's had the procedure done as well, and he was saying that he saw stars. And I'm like, yeah, I remember that. I'm just going to black out. It's just so horrible. And then what they do is once they've got the dye in your brain, they x-ray your head. So the dye highlights all the areas. And that's when they determine, not even the first angiogram, there's the second angiogram. Because there was blood in my brainstem, because it's such a tight area, the blood hadn't drained, so they couldn't determine what it was. It took like, I don't know, 6 weeks to finally them to tell me I have an AVM, the artery vein malformation.
Yeah. And all you wanted, at this point now, you want information, don't you? You want to know what's going on.
Because I'm like that. I would bust their balls, the doctors. I needed to know stuff. I can't just accept this is why. Why does that happen? How does, what do we do about it? So I was doing that. I just needed to know stuff, and they were telling me, and I'd be bugging them, and and it was good because I was practicing to speak and learning these big words and trying to string them together. So you had to learn how to, practically learn how to speak again. You had to learn how to say the words again. It wasn't the words, because of the type of stroke I had, it wasn't so much the processing of the brain, it was more getting the information and movement out. So there's a condition called aphasia. Aphasia, when you're stroke affected or have some kind of neurological problem, it affects the language center of your brain. So when you go to process words, you may not remember that that's called a glass. So you're like, I didn't have that problem. Mine was just connecting words to lip and mouth movement. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It was fascinating because when I was reading, you explained, because I think you have a stroke, right? And then I think to myself, why can't you walk? Why can't you walk? All right, you've had the stroke, but what's it got to do with your legs? You know what I mean? Why? And then you explain it in the book. Explain what happens to your muscles.
Yeah, okay. So with the brain being the engine center of the body, it sends information through neuro pathways, and it sends neurotransmitters to the brain, and the brain sends them to the hand, and the hand sends them to the brain about movement and control and all that. So if you can imagine like a bunch of cables that are sending that information, all of a sudden there's a break in the cable. So the information somehow gets distorted. It gets it's delayed, it's broken, it's missing information, and that's how you're affected. And what also happens is, have you heard of a condition called spasticity? Do you remember years ago there was that word, that horrible word, spastic, and you see people that have that, their hands. What that is spasticity is where the muscle isn't receiving the information from the brain, and the muscle doesn't know what to do, so it clenches. It goes into survival mode because it doesn't know what to do, and it clenches and creates that spasticity. Yeah. So I have a bit of spasticity through this hand, a lot of pain in the shoulder and stuff.
Still?
Yeah, still now. And limited function.
So is there anything you can take for that pain, or is it just something you just got to come across?
I've tried, but I've never had much success with stuff. So it's just living. I find that movement, exercise, working out, doing some weights and stretching and physio, that helps. But so that's what happens is that basically the bottom line is communication is broken down. So that's why you can't work. It's not like your muscles have forgotten how to do it. It's just not getting the signal from the command center.
But even then, when you get the signal, then you've got to retrain your legs to redo it again. Because you're getting the signal later, but your legs aren't responding all of a sudden. Because
what happens especially with stroke, is it damages a part of the brain. So that part of the brain cells in that area where the stroke is, they're damaged and they're not repairable. But there's something that science has discovered. It's called neuroplasticity. Right, you already read that in the book. Now, what that does is the brain apparently has the capacity to rewire itself. So let's say there's a damaged area, and around that damaged area, the brain rewires itself to compensate for the damaged area. That can happen, and that's why people make recoveries. And that's what's happened with me. But the thing is with that, it's probably not going to be as good, because it's not as strong. It's not a direct line.
Yeah.
So, and it all comes down to so many factors like, the level of damage, the time of, where you seek treatment. So it's all those previous health conditions, age. So there's all these factors that determine. And because I had one at 38, I kept hearing from the doctors, you'll probably make a good recovery because of your age. But if it happened to me when I was 38, so near your age.
It's wild.
And the thing is that this is another misinformation, I don't know what the word is, that people think, stroke for old people,
Absolutely.
But you were saying fetuses can have it in the...
Yeah. So, and I only discovered it, I knew nothing about strokes when it happened to me. But then I went on that learning journey and started discovering it happens. And then I started meeting, once I began connecting with stroke community groups, I was meeting, people who had strokes that at age 11 at school. There's one guy had his stroke in the sand pit at school.
Yeah.
At 11. And so I was and then I was hearing, and there was another woman, her daughter had a stroke at 2, and you hear it, and then you read all this stuff, and so that whole premise of us believing that it happens when you I was one of them.
I know.
It was just blown out of the water when I discovered.
And to tell you the truth, before you, I didn't really know anyone who the only people I knew had a stroke was my dad, and he died. I think your mum died of a stroke. Did she?
She had a heart, but she did have a. She did have a
stroke, but you know what I mean. Anyone that has a stroke, either they're a lot older, and it just never comes across that it's going to be like a young person.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is, and because it's so. I guess when you're 70 or 80 and you have a stroke, you don't think much about it, because also people are at the end of their lives. But when you have something at 20 or 30, it's obviously your life's just so impacted that everything changes.
Well, I was about to ask you. So, say the first 2 months, or as soon as you start to kind of gauge, all right, this is what's happened and this is what I'm going through. What emotions were you feeling? Were you angry? Were you sad? What all the above? What were you feeling?
It was all of the above. Anger wasn't in there.
Anger?
It was a lot of heartache, a lot of sadness, beginnings of depression. Then there was bursts of hope and positivity and joy and love. So it was really just everything, and it sort of just meandered through all those where it was subject to where I was at physically, what was going on around me, all those factors.
When you went to hospital here in Melbourne for the first time, and your dad and family walked in, how was that?
That was crazy, because when I arrived, I had to go through a series of tests before they would let them in. And it was just that moment where I was just so wanting to see them. And then they finally were allowed in, and they left us in a room for about a half hour for us just to sort of, I guess, connect. And that was really heavy. And I remember my dad, how emotional he was.
I don't know how he would take it, as a father.
Yeah.
Because you feel helpless. It's your son, you think you're going to help him more. And I'm going to be honest, that part there, I cried like a baby when you told me. But plus I know your dad and that, coming in and seeing them for the first time, just you would have broken down. Do you feel... You almost feel... do you feel responsible?
Yeah, you do. So I don't know if that's
not responsible.
Right. I know what you're saying, but... guilt is such a big part of the journey of recovery, because you feel guilty that you've, I guess, disrupted everyone's lives, because it's not only you that goes through it, your family, your kids,
100%.
Their mother. My sisters, all of a sudden, they're coming to visit me. They're trying to work out who's going to go and visit, who can go there. I'll go Tuesday. Can you go Thursday? Because they tried to create a roster where my sisters and my brother and my dad someone would come and see me every single day. And so you start to feel like you're a bit of a burden on people, especially when you're starting to get a bit better and you want to just get back to your old life, and you start to feel like a bit of a burden. But those they are part of the guilt.
We've said this before on this podcast, mate. There's nothing like family, is there?
That's when you need them.
At the end of the
that's
day,
the most important time, you know.
and
it's not when, I've always said, you know, when your marriage vows and all that, you know, for richer, for poorer, for in sickness and in health, forget about the richer, forget about when you're healthy. It's when I'm sick. That's when I need you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when real family are there to help you out. You know, the demons, Tone.
Yeah,
the demons at night, mate. You know, like I know you talk about all, like you'll read the book, all your recovery. You know what I mean? And then every day you got a routine, and we'll probably we'll touch on some of those things. You know, you have to learn how to walk and talk and eat, and even learn to grab a glass. You know.
Yeah, you know, I tried to touch on this, but you know, when I was in that state, I remember that it's just like, you're going to teach me to grab. I know, you know, you just can't grasp that. You have to learn that.
And you did.
Know? Yeah, it's just, you got to learn how to grab. You got to, and it's, you explain like you just have no idea. Okay, shape your hand like this, and squeeze. And now remember to squeeze, hold it, squeeze, keep that arm straight. That's how you talk to, and you're like, and you know you're doing it because you have to do it. But you're in your brain, I was thinking, this is crazy. I know what to do, but it just, this hand doesn't want to do it. So it's a lot of that processing is going on.
Yeah. But the demons, we've spoken about this before, like you do all that, but then you're alone.
Yeah.
A lot of the times you are left alone with you and the demon in your head,
that's the,
like just playing at you. And I you know, like we've all got them. You know, when you got issues or you got problems and when you're lying in your bed alone, that's when you start to think, and that's when those demons come. And if you're not strong, man, anything can happen, you know. How was that? How do you deal with night after night and hour after hour, just you and that voice in your head?
They were some of the harder times, but there were also times where, you know, if I was exhausted from doing hydrotherapy, that's therapy in the pool, I'd just fall asleep quite easily. But then there was those nights where, you know, I was feeling a bit exhilarated, and then you start to process everything, and you're left with those demons. That's what it is, and it's your head just messing with you, telling you, or, you know, and you're thinking about everything. What am I going to do with myself? How's my kids feeling? How's you know, their mother coping? How's, you know, it eats at you, and then you got to. And I just literally consciously had to find things to do, and I'm talking about things to do like eat the chocolates that are in my drawer, or, you know, play with the remote control, or like my occupational therapist gave me a nut and bolt, and I'd have to unscrew it. She'd go, okay, I want you to unscrew that bolt night after night. So I'd just sit there and that's what I would do to sort of fend off those demons, because you just have to break that chain of thought. Because you know what happens. We all experience it. You get in that thought process and you just follow it, and you got to. For me, when I get into those states, even now, you got to pull yourself out of the vortex and go and look at yourself from above, almost visualizing yourself, because your mind is almost like not part of you, you know. It takes control. You got to look at it from that perspective and go, all right, I'm going to change that thinking. I've got to steer it this way. So that's what I was doing, starting to do that. But you know, some nights it was crazy.
I could just imagine.
Yeah, and especially, you know, like, because my mum passed away 5 years before. Yeah. And then I'd be going through my head thinking about her. Yeah, of course. So it was like, that's how it was. It was just that roller coaster.
Did you feel alone?
Yeah, because, you know, all of a sudden the hospital becomes quiet. Yeah. All the lights are dimmed, and there's hardly anyone around. Yeah. And you're just so alone. You realise how alone you are. And, you know, you can't have visitors after a certain time. Yeah. You know, hospitals work at such a tight formula. Yeah. So I felt quite alone at times.
All right. So, and then, I don't know, have you got anything?
No, I'm just taking it in. It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, it is.
Are you embarrassed?
It's heavy.
Are you embarrassed?
Was I?
Yeah. So, I'll give you an example, right? You know, when someone first sees you, like they haven't seen you for a while, and this would have been initially at the start. I think now it's been a long time. You're starting to deal. You've dealt everything really well.
Yeah.
Are you embarrassed, like the way, because you know you can't move your arm? Is there a part of that in there?
Now?
Not now. Then.
Yeah. Not so much of then. I wasn't in that headspace of processing that you know, that it's, I can't do this, I can't do that, because in my mind I was going to make a full recovery.
Yeah.
So I wasn't.
This is only like the steps.
This is only temporary. I'll be fine. I'll get there. And I started becoming hopeful, like I said to Andy before, when once I can get from little things like sit up. I could sit up. Wow, and I could sit up, and I'm gonna. Hey, the nurses would say to me, "Where do you want to have your dinner, Antonio?" I want to sit in the armchair, and then I was able to get out of bed onto the wheelchair and then get over to the and get into the chair, and that was just like a great feat. Look what I did, So once I started to process that and get to that mindset, I felt like I was unstoppable. Sort of, it wasn't consistent. There are times where I was just, I'd be an emotional mess and then bawling my eyes out, and then I have a really good hydrotherapy session and feel exhilarated. So it's like that. It's just, it's just a mixed bag.
What about like when all the nurses are doing everything for you, right? At the start,
everything.
At the start, and then you slowly start, and amazingly, you walk out of that hospital. But how does that feel? How does it feel that you, man? Can I just say it? Not wiping your ass at the start. How does that feel?
That was embarrassing.
Yes,
it was. But then you resigned to it as well.
Of course. But initially,
especially initially,
how can this be happening?
It made you feel like you're just worthless, if you like. It's probably not the right word, but it just made you feel like you're so dependent on others, and you kind of also in the back of your mind there was that feeling, I hope this is not forever, because I don't want this kind of life. So you start to entertain the idea of that. I don't want to live this way, and that can go two ways.
That drive you?
That can drive you. Exactly. It could. And it just, for me, it drove me, because I wanted my independence.
Let's hear some questions. Dan Chich, give us a question there. He just said incredible story, man. So far, man, and it just gets better and better, man, because then just the recovery, I just want everyone to remember, you practically, you couldn't talk, you couldn't see, you couldn't hear, and you couldn't move from the neck down at the start to where you are now. I want everyone to just remember that.
2009.
Yeah.
And I got back to walking about, I think I wrote it in a book, I forgot the exact days, so like 64 days or something.
It was like 2.5 months.
That I got 2.5 months to walking.
Tell us when that lady walks in and told you about her brothers in there, and what did she say to you?
That's good. I like that bit. And again, I was talking to you earlier. I was saying about, before we were on air, the writing process. I'd get these little glimpses of things that happen, like that particular story, and I just thought, I've got to write about that. I've got to get in there, and I'd get in there and just dig it out and pull it out of my heart and cry and write. Yeah. And what happened was, I reckon I was in rehab for about 2 weeks, and some woman come in from another room, and it was late, so she strolled into my room and she said, "Oh, hi, my brother is in the other room. I heard what happened to you. I wanted to just come and say, hello, and just tell you that you'll be okay. My brother's, he had a stroke about 2 months ago, and he's about to walk, and he's going to walk out of hospital." And she goes, "We'll all walk out of here together." And that just stuck with me. And then when I finally got to the end where I walked out of the hospital, I rewrite that section to just reiterate that what that woman said. Obviously we didn't all walk out together, because I'd gone a few months before me, but just to drive home that I did it. I walked out of hospital.
No, it's something to be heavily proud of.
It was that moment.
I think you really wanted to walk out of that hospital, didn't you?
Yeah,
there's no way they were going to wheel you out of that hospital.
Because they gave me a wheelchair. And they were like, "Do you want to wheel you out of hospital?" I was like, no. I'm going to walk out of here. Right. So, and you spend 3 months in hospital, close to the amount of junk you accumulate. Yeah. And I was using the wheelchair as like a trolley. Bags and magazines and CDs. Back then we had CDs, CDs. Stuff like that. And then we walked out of hospital. It was a good feeling. And I wore some clothes that I had made in Vietnam that I hadn't worn yet. So like a cool jacket, I had my cool sneakers on and a pair of my jeans, and I wanted to feel human. And so that's how I walked out of hospital.
It's incredible, man.
Music, big part of your life. You were a muso before that. You played in bands, and we'll go through that. But you played a lot in. You were over in England.
Yep.
Your bands. You even got a small record deal at one stage.
Yeah. Right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning, yeah, for a song, and you were up against a good band at the time. That kind of, you were telling me they shot out. They had kind of a single out at the same time as you. And who was that band?
Coldplay. They broke just when I say broke, they just were dropped. They say drop these days. They dropped their single Yellow. There's Yellow, I said.
Yeah, Yellow.
They dropped Yellow just when we got our deal with our record company. We had a small recording deal, and it was kind of more of a development deal where they funded the recording for it to go on to be whatever. And Coldplay just released there, and I was saying this to Rock the other day. I was feeling like, how come our song's better than that? That's so good. It went to number one, and obviously Coldplay went on to become who they are, and our band just sort of
of course
dissolved over a period of years. But that was around the time when we got our deal with that single, and all that happened with that was it got used on some TV programs,
which is great.
It was cool.
That's cool,
really
man.
cool because we were watching. I was watching it was on a 7:30 Tuesday night, like Neighbours. And it was played in the pub scene on the jukebox while they were playing billiards.
Wow,
that was cool. I was watching it. Hey, check that.
Were you by yourself?
Yeah, I mean the singer wrote.
No, I'm saying when you heard that the first time, were you by yourself?
No, I can't remember. I was with my daughter and that.
Did you say that's my
Oh no, we had the phone call. Make sure you went. So I rang everyone. It was on for about 30 seconds or something.
That's sick.
So it got used there, and then they took the song, and the producer took the ending of the song and they chopped it up because the ending had a bit of a big guitar build-up part, drums and and they chopped it up and made it into this kind of instrumental that was used for like on sports TV, on soccer and that, and it was just like the instrumental of the ending. Cool. That was cool too. That was about it. That was about it, and then it just.
So you were a guitarist.
I was a guitar player.
You were a guitar player, and I'm going to have to say you were a fairly good guitar player. You really loved your guitar, and you really, you were good at it, man. I remember we were DJing, and I remember we DJ, and one day you picked up the guitar. I don't know I can't remember who put you onto a guitar or why you started playing it, right?
Just someone I met.
You started playing, and then you pretty much just went flat out. And within a year, man, you were like, I reckon you were playing in a band or something within a year, man. And I was like spinning out, man. I'm there smoking bongs and that, not getting anywhere. And this bloke's playing in a band, like so proud of him. But how's that, man? Like now we're taking away a lot of things in your life, right? At the time, you were taken away. Let's be honest, nearly everything's getting taken away from you. Yeah. But you're getting taken away like one of your biggest loves to play the guitar.
It was heartbreaking because it was, like you said, the biggest love when you play an instrument. I think for most people, most musos, just becomes part of you. It's just something you just, whether it's whatever instrument, you're just like an extension of who you are, and then that's taken away, and it's really heartbreaking, and I was devastated. And I remember.
Did you think you were going to play the guitar again?
I did, because we began to use the guitar in physio, in hand therapy, occupational therapy. And someone brought my guitar. I was in hospital and brought the guitar in, and I was trying to make chords. And then luckily my therapist had played the guitar when she was at uni or something, so she knew some basic chords, but I just couldn't get my hands to work. Because when you watch guitar players, it's quite all those movements, and I couldn't feel that, and it just felt horrible. It felt like this thing was like a wedge. It was like a splinter.
Yeah,
didn't feel like it belonged. Normally the guitar, it's got that shape that can sit nicely, and then you tuck the body in here, and it felt so foreign. It was horrible. Yeah, and it was gut wrenching, and I wanted to do it, but I also didn't because it was just too painful. Yeah. And I reckon if I really put a lot of energy in it, I probably would have been able to play some basic chords, but I felt like it wasn't going to be enough. I've gone from being a guitar player to playing chords that sounded like I was strangling a cat.
Like I was playing, yeah, that's right.
It just wasn't, so I just I didn't put my energy into it.
Yeah.
I found other ways to make music.
Yeah.
I was just about to ask you, what was your next avenue? What was your next kind of, guitar is not in my range at the moment. Where did you find inspiration to maybe choose another instrument or computer? I don't know.
Yeah.
So where did you find, what was your avenue?
Well, what happened? Something
music?
did happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was living at my dad's because I was single at the time. Was married, but then was single, and I was living at my dad's, literally straight out of hospital to dad's. He wasn't living there; he was living with his girlfriend. So I had the house on my own, and there was my brother's old piano in the spare room, and I had gotten all my music gear and set it up in that room, which was a computer, some mixer, the guitars and the microphones, and I just began tinkering about one-handed on the piano, just starting to, because like music, once you know music, you just okay, it might be the tool might be the guitar, but you can translate that knowledge to another instrument, and it's just learning the notes. So I just began tinkering about, and I've discovered to play one-handed in a way where I just when you play the piano, you approach it like that, where you've got the middle C in your left and the hand. I just sort of moved this hand here and picked up the bass notes with my thumb and played just a real basic, just played the chords with my fingers, and I began to find a way to make music and find a little pattern of, I guess, a style, which I don't know if you call it a style, but just a way to compose and write melodies and create chord progressions. And because that was at the time where recording on computer was becoming a thing, and I did have a decent amount of gear, software, a mixer and that, and I just began taking what I knew, recording into my computer and working out how to play parts with one hand and then like overlapping with the other hand. You know what I mean? So I'd go, okay, piano line, bass line, drum track, connect the drum to it, drum track. I had electric drum kit. So that's how it all began. Just processing that information and onto a keyboard.
And you started a little band.
And there's been a few bands, but that first band was with my old mate Adam, which you kind of, I'm not sure if you remember him, but he and I called him up and he would come over once a week, and we're talking about like, it wasn't even a year, it was probably about 10 months after my stroke that I just went, it's crazy because I was starting to feel like I had this opportunity, I had this, okay, this has happened, and I could have just got stuck on what I had lost, but I was beginning to develop a mindset of, instead of just being heartbroken on what I lost, let's focus on what I still had and develop it. That's the mindset I was starting to put together and believe. And
can I just, before we get back into the band, because we've talked about this also, you've said this, and I know it's going to be weird to say, and what I'm about to say is that it was almost like, not the best thing that's happened to you, but it's like having the stroke has opened up so many opportunities for you that you probably would never have had.
Yeah.
The time, you got to play your music, now you got free time, you wrote a book, like, is it wrong to say that it's probably one of the...
I use that terminology, that it's kind of the best thing that happened to me. But that comes with also, it's very difficult, and there's a lot of physical pain, and there's a lot of challenges and days. I think I told you yesterday I didn't have a good day. Today I'm still feeling a bit off balance, but I'm okay.
Yeah,
I have a lot of those times, but then I just ride the wave. It's taken 15 years to get to this place.
Yeah.
I ride the wave, and now I look at it like, wow, like I'll go out for a Tuesday afternoon walk with my dog, and the sun's shining, and we're in the park, and there's trees, and it's beautiful, and I'm thinking, I could do this whenever I want.
Well,
I get home and I go to I've built a recording studio. That's what I did since I got into music. I built a recording studio. I go in there and I write and I record with other artists. I produce for them and I work on my book, and I'd go to the library and research and write. And I just thought, it doesn't get much better than this, really, does it? So that's how I began to feel.
It's like the ultimate silver lining. Like perception of silver lining. So like, I know personally, I've ever since I was young, I was kind of an angry kid. I was always angry. I was always looking at the negatives, and I don't know what kind of switched in me. Maybe it was just getting a bit older and becoming a bit more mature and emotionally mature as well. But I was like really focusing on silver linings, and like that to me is like the ultimate. Like
maturity is where it comes from.
Yeah,
it's just you go through that journey of reframing, changing the narrative, and building it in a way where it favours you. Because again, like we were saying before, there's two ways. You can go this way and get stuck, because the universe doesn't reward the victim mentality. So you have the choice. I'm not going to say, because I don't want to put that message out there, just do this and it's going to be dead, because it's not. It's work. And
of course.
Some people can just go snap and it works out for them. Others struggle.
Yep.
It's just the way we are. We're all human. We're all different. We're all made up differently. So, but you have some choices to try and develop that kind of choice, direction. I want to go this way, and I want to build that.
Yeah, and as I said, all right, so you can't play the guitar, but what you did was, you moved it over, you did some other stuff, and like I said, now you've got all the time in the world now, like to do what you really love, and like the book was another, project that. Like you had all that time to write this book, and you know what I mean, and then the music and the bands, you know what I mean. I mean, just quickly on that band, you did start a band that went into a competition, didn't you?
Yes, that was the first thing we did.
What band was it?
Boy Cried Wolf.
Yep.
But that was based on songs I had written leading up to the stroke. When I left London, I was back in Melbourne, had a job, and I was just writing songs as a bit of a hobby, and it was just go in the garage and pick up the guitar and come up with an idea, and then maybe record it, and then it'd sit there for 3 months, and then I'd go back and have another idea, and it was like a little thing I did every now and again. And then when I had my stroke, that was part of the building of that mindset. Was when I was in hospital, I kind of I had this like epiphany where I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish those songs. I don't know how, but I'm going to finish those songs. And that became a bit of the driving force through my recovery was, and I started, and I remember the therapist gave me a notepad, and I began to write lyrics and just some of my thoughts. So that's where it began. It's just starting to feed all that. So that's what became the first part. And then that project was the one that I called Adam Up, and we began recording at my dad's house, and that evolved into a 4-piece band. I wasn't in the band. The 4-piece band. They entered something called The Last Band Standing, which was a competition organised by Premier Artists, I think it is, that events group. And it was out at somewhere in Brunswick. And we entered that competition. And mind you, the band had only just got together, one rehearsal, and they're in the competition. And the first heat, runners up, rolled us into the next heat. Then we won that. We won about 3 heats, and then straight into the grand final. And we won that as well. It was
That's incredible.
It's so crazy, and they're in the audience. And I'm standing there watching this band, and I've never done this before. Watch a band playing my songs, and I'm standing there, and these guys are playing my material, and it was pretty full because there's a lot of bands, so everyone brought their audience. It was a full night, and I'm just in my head, I'm like, 10 months ago, I was in hospital clinging on to life, and here I am now standing in this audience. And this band is playing my songs. So we get to the end of the night, and then one of the organizer gets up to the stage, and she announces I remember clearly. She goes, "I'm just going to get straight to the point. The winner is Boy Cried Wolf." And it just everyone erupted, and I write about this, and I was like, I just defied reason, man. I just jumped in the air and into our bass player's arms, and he was holding me up. So it was crazy. It was really crazy, but it was beautiful.
What an amazing achievement, what I mean? Like to get
crazy.
there and
10 months.
10 months. Yeah.
That's insane. That's a testament to your mental strength and to your character, man. Like, that's insane. I can't wait to read the book now.
It's amazing, man.
Rocco's spoken so highly about it.
I'm telling you, like it's so. Listen, it's so well written. I in a way, I can't believe it's you that you wrote this. The way you. I'm telling you, you really suck us in, like as far as like each chapter. I'm seeing it. I'm there.
That was the mindset, was to create that feeling where what I did was I focused not on an audience. I just focused like I was telling one person the story, and we're sitting together like me and you. That's what I focused on. I'm just going to write this thing, and I'm going to write it through who I am as a person, my personality. Once I found my voice and knew how I was going to get it out, I just did that. I just focused on one person, and that's how I wrote it. And I wanted to make it relatable, and I dug into things that people think about but don't talk about. You know, those, I wanted to sort of scratch those surfaces and expose some of those things and make it relatable, so people feel like, I know that, I feel like that too.
Yeah. And that's what it did. And that's what a good book does, and that's what a good movie does. Yeah. Right? You relate, and music does it too. And you know about that. You're so into music, like you start to relate it to yourself, you know. And I'm telling you, it's a bit, the other thing is, like, it's not just a book about, you know, like, I had the stroke and then this and that. Mate, you put this comedy into it. So one chapter I'm crying, right? And then the next one you're making me laugh because you're saying something funny, inappropriate to the doctor, you know? And I'm thinking, like, what? And I actually burst out laughing. And my girlfriend goes, what are you laughing at? And I go, you know what he just said to the doctor? Like, it's like, what is he doing, you know? Like, it's so funny. But we've got a couple of questions here. I'll go one from Chicho Dan. He goes, you want to read it? Can you read it?
Yeah, I'll read it. Do you now not worry about insignificant problems in life? Has it changed the way you react to small problems that we all are guilty of overreacting to?
Yeah, I reckon I have. It's a good question. But I'm still human. I still react. But I consciously work on not reacting. Physically take you know, and catch myself and test myself to go, don't react. It's not worth it. Because a lot of times we just get caught up in it and we respond out of, you know, it's sometimes not even about the situation. It's about our own personal perception of it. So I try to not do that. Consciously practice it, you know. Makes sense.
It's funny, we were talking
I'm going to
before.
give Dan Chicho a book. Contact me and we'll get your book out to you, man. That's it, mate. Perfect. I'm telling you, you're going to love this. That goes to Dan Chicho.
We were talking earlier about, just touching on what you said, about how, you know, there's so much negativity, you know, on the internet, and, you know, we deal with it, you know, on our platforms quite a bit. What was the hardest thing for you to kind of navigate around when it comes to negativity? Was it the way people treated you afterwards? Was it the way you would think about yourself? What was the hardest kind of thing to kind of swallow and then work through? Because I could imagine, even like you're already going through your own demons, but then people around you, the way they treated you, did you find there was a dramatic shift in the way they treated you?
Yeah, I did, and I wasn't conscious shift. It was just people were just like that.
Yeah.
I felt like for a while that people were treating me with like gloves on, you know, trying to be very careful what they say. And we touched on this before this program, about how people wouldn't ask me questions. Yeah, I wouldn't mind another drink.
Nice.
They wouldn't ask me certain questions.
When they say yes.
I'll
put some eyes, so keep going.
So they wouldn't ask me certain questions that might open up a discussion about where my life's at.
Okay.
You know, they might say, hey, how are you? So there was a lot of conversation about how are you? How's your health going? How's your recovery? Oh, you know, but they wouldn't say, what was it like, you know, not being able to walk? Or how, well, like what you asked me, how to wipe your...
Yeah.
They didn't ask questions like that, and I get it. I do get it.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's not an easy subject.
Yeah.
Especially early on, I reckon.
Yeah. So I began to notice that, but then also I think a lot of it was my own perception of what I believed they were thinking. And maybe they weren't thinking what I was thinking, but that was just just my own paranoia of I'm not like everyone else. Because, you know, I still have physical limitations. I haven't got great use of this arm, and I have problems with my left leg. So I just it was me trying to find that peace within myself and not worrying about what others thought.
Yeah, that's it's really interesting, because I'm just like imagining being not necessarily a best mate, because I feel like a close mate wouldn't have an issue kind of, how is this, how is that, but maybe like family.
Yes.
Maybe extended family would probably struggle with, maybe don't mention that, or maybe don't, talk about this too much, and, they'd probably be a bit overcautious with your feelings.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a bit frustrating, you know, because, like you said before, you're still human.
Yeah.
You still feel things. You want to be treated. We all want to be treated equal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
oh well,
I can imagine.
I have this little. I was saying this on a podcast last week where a similar question was asked, and
a shitter podcast.
It wasn't that good. It was just I don't know why I did it. I won't mention names. But anyway, I remember there was this one person who I kind of knew through someone else, but I wasn't that close to them. And they come along, when you hear someone's in hospital, everyone comes to visit.
Yeah.
You see people that you haven't seen since you were 3 years old, And so I had this visit, and I remember that person was the only person who talked to me, like, just talked about whatever. We didn't talk about stroke. We didn't talk about recovery, health, how you feel, and we just were talking rubbish about whatever. And I just kind of went, that was so refreshing, because everyone was visiting, like, how you feel and how you going, how's your recovery, what's your therapist like, and that's great, and it's sincere. There's a lot of sincerity there, but it wears a bit thin, because you want to feel human, you want to connect with people, you want to hear genuine, real stories. And I remember that person gave me that, and I did realise that I can be human, and I was craving that sort of normality, if you like.
Yeah.
Cheers, man. Cheers.
Saluti.
Yeah, just to
What a story.
look, it's an amazing story, and as I said, man, you're overseas, man, like, and you are fighting for your life, and then you get back, and then you've pretty much got to fight you're fighting every minute, like I keep saying it, you're fighting to sit up, you're fighting to walk, you know what I mean? You're getting all these things. I think knowing you would have been just trying to get to as much of a normality as possible, you know what I mean? But your body was just failing you at times.
Yeah, absolutely. Still does.
Yeah, and it still does, yeah. Tell me about your first time you went on a date.
Oh, gee, I was back out on the dating scene, and in those years it changed, because online dating became the thing. And I was so self-conscious, because back then, see, I had this, one of the things that happened to this eye.
Oh, tell us about when the eye moved.
So it was only a couple of weeks in, and this eye decides to just travel towards the inside, tucked itself into this, into this corner, and my therapist, she come in one morning, and she's like, look at your eye. I go, what's happened? Because I wasn't quite, my vision wasn't the best. It just felt normal to me. Well, not normal, but it felt like it was the same as it was the day before. She's like, your eyes moved, and she's got me out of bed. They had to hoist me at the time out of bed into the wheelchair. They hoist me into the bathroom. I look in the mirror and I see this eye. It's tucked right in there. Yeah. So that just added to that complexity of self-paranoia, or what people are thinking. Because what I began to notice later, when I'm out of the hospital, that people, I could feel the energy change as soon as they see my eye that was tucked in. I've had it surgically moved. And so that's when I was beginning to get to that point where I was noticing people's energy, and feeling things that they were trying to disclose and trying to not offend and be polite, and or I'd go into a supermarket and get my groceries, and then they'd be talking to me, and then they'd see the eye, and then they'd start speaking slower, probably not consciously, but I just felt it, you wrote those bags, can I help you with those bags?
Or because of the eye, all of a sudden you can't do nothing.
They can see that I know, they'd reach out to give and I'd help, this hand, and little things like that. So, but that's what happened with the eye. So then when it comes to dating with this eye and my physical ability, I'm like, how do I deal with that? I was really confronted with it, because do I be honest? So I went through this process of a few dates where I went, first date I didn't say anything, just leave whatever happens, and that caused me so much anxiety, because I'm turning up on a date and they don't know, and I've got this limp and this eye, and the first day it was like they were kind of being polite, and that actually no, the first day went. Well, it was a bit weird, but the second day there was been a few dates. It's not because I'm a player, or
He's a playboy.
So I was
Never changed.
So the second day, and then I told her on the phone.
Yes.
So I got a chance to tell this woman on the phone because I thought I'm not going to. Last time it caused me too much anxiety. So I told her on the phone, but I didn't mention the eye. I just said, look, I had a stroke, and physically. And she's like, that's cool. So we went out and we had a beautiful night. And she was so sweet, and when you feel the energy, she was touching, and a little bit of that. And then I walked into her car, and she kissed me right on the mouth, on the lips. I thought, wow, that was so cool. How cool is that? I'm just a year into my recovery, and that's happened. So, and then she just blocked me. She just ghosted me.
That's dating.
That's
normal, bro.
That's everybody.
That's
yeah.
normal.
I feel better now,
Yeah,
man.
that's everybody, man.
That's it. That's normal. Yeah.
But still,
That was happening.
But how does that make you feel then? These insecurities
it
start to come back.
Goes back to what you said. You start to question, your insecurities come in, and you start to, and then you start to question what you're doing, and should I bother? And you go through all that, and then, but then there's I was beginning to build that mindset of, I don't care. I've got to not care. I've got to really just be myself and not care. And
But it's hard, man.
Oh, it is, man. It's a long journey. That road to acceptance, it's long and meandering, and there's side streets, and it's you forever unfolding, forever learning. It took 15 years. I still sometimes get challenged by it. And
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So especially, what about if you see someone they haven't seen for like 15 years, for example, like an old friend, and
Who wouldn't have known?
who maybe wouldn't have known or did know, and just like it's been 15 years, and then sees you for the first time, like they would react a bit.
Yeah,
Because look, honestly, I remember the first time I saw you after stroke, and this was maybe 5 or 6 or maybe 7,
I remember
longer.
We caught up.
It was a shock.
Yeah, I know.
Because I knew you were one way, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing, and then there was a little bit of like poor Tony.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's natural, you see him and poor Tony. But then after spending time with you,
I was going to just say that but then see again, there's another side to that, because then I find myself trying to compensate and trying to go, yeah, that happened, but check this out. This is what I've done, and I'm like, I don't have to do that, man. I have to prove myself. I just got to. It is what it is, and just so and again, that's another journey as well. You got to part of that acceptance.
Not only the journey from like physically, like that mental journey, it would be, I reckon, almost harder in a way.
I think mental definitely would be harder.
I reckon it's. I was been talking a lot. I wrote a piece recently about this, and I called it the aftermath, and it's that because. The mental part, because if you think about it from a psychological perspective, they talk a lot about being positive, and when you're positive, life's better. And it could be a little bit woo-woo, but it's true. We trigger those brain chemicals that help us maintain that healthy energy,
100%.
and that healthy energy creates better things, and it helps you manage life, better decisions. I'm not saying you're going to all of a sudden be able to climb Mount Everest, but you're just going to be better. You're going to be nicer. You're not going to get pissed off that the guys cut you off on the road. All those things, right?
That's the hardest thing.
Yeah, the driving's the
hardest thing
for everybody, man. Like,
but I bet you have days where you're feeling good. It's so good, and someone does it, and you go, "Yeah, that's okay, mate.
you do.
Go ahead."
Well done.
Yeah. And then there's other days you want to rip their head off.
100%.
you do.
So apply that to having something like a disability.
Yeah.
And it's amplified.
Yeah.
So it's again another long process of recovery.
And to me, it sounds like it's going to be the never-ending story, really, for you. You're always fighting with something. Like as you said, like so there are some days you just like we say, you've done well. You've written a book and that, but. Still. You hurt during the day, like you were saying yesterday. You didn't have a good day, you know what I mean? Like so, you do have to go through issues. So it's a constant thing, and I would say that the mental part would also be you have to work on that on a daily thing, man.
Don't we all?
Yeah, you're right.
You know, that's the reality. For me, it's just,
and
you know,
actually, when you say
sharp
like that,
up.
don't we all? We all got to work on it. Huh? We've all got our own demons that we deal with.
Yeah, we do. And you know, someone said this to me once, that for when you have something happen to you, it's like it's clear. This is the issue. The mountain is there. But when you don't have something clear, you have all these little speed humps, and you just never get past them because they're just one speed up after another. Whereas for me, I feel like yesterday I had a crap day, and I know why. So I just rode the wave, and you know, I knew I was going to feel better, and I'm getting there. Today was not better, but you know, I know in 2 or 2 days I'll feel back to my usual self, and no one notices it. I just feel it inside, physically. So,
I've got 2 questions. Sorry. I've got 2 questions. After everything, 15 years on, what are you most grateful for?
I reckon it's really just simple things like seeing my daughters being healthy and happy, and connected with them, and being able to be part of their lives in the way I have. That's been really gratifying. Being able to be creative and be artistic and I get a lot of joy out of creativity. That's why I wrote the book. It was, although there was a purpose where I wanted to get a story out and share that story, not just about myself, but raising awareness and bringing attention to, you know, what can be possible if you put your energy to it. So I wanted to do that, but I also enjoy the process of creativity. And guess what? You know, if I didn't have a stroke, I wouldn't have done those things.
Yeah. And
I even talk about this in the book. If I had made a full recovery, I would have likely gone back to my previous life.
Yeah.
Because through the recovery, that's what it's all about. It's getting you back to who you were.
Yes.
And I just started to discover I'm not going to get there. I'm not going to make it. And I really feel like that I didn't really start recovering until I stopped trying to recover. It's weird, isn't it? But you know, it's like
that makes sense.
Profound, eh?
That is profound. And it makes 100% sense. I didn't cover till I stopped trying to recover.
Because it was just, it felt like everything was about recovery. You know, like I remember things like I'd go see my therapist, and she'd say, and she'd go, "What'd you have for dinner last night?" And I said, "I had, you know, so and so." And she'd say, "Oh, that would have been a good opportunity to use your 2 hands to cut that up." And I'm like, you know, I didn't say. Yeah. But I want to say, when I sit down and eat, I don't want to be in recovery mode. I just want to eat. Yeah. You know? So it's that, just letting go of that. I felt like through the whole journey of recovery, it was so much about recovery that I lost a bit of sense of self. So that's why doing art and creating and writing, making music was so therapeutic.
Yeah. Would have been. And I think for most of us who are kind of creative in a way, you know, that's when you're the most happy at your best, you know what I mean? And, you know, like we all go, and I say about the rat race, you know, I'll go and do the rat race so I can do my other stuff. That's all I'm doing that rat race for. I don't want to do the rat race. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you got to do it to get to do that. You know this.
I'm sure you've experienced that when you're doing something that you're doing for yourself, and it, you know, whatever your passion is, you know, might be, you know, even if at work, because you know you work for yourself, and you probably have a lot of passion for that. Time kind of stands still.
It does.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it's when you're in that zone,
or does it go fast?
It does. That definitely goes fast.
It goes faster. It does. It's relevant. Because you're enjoying yourself. Like it goes a lot quicker, you know. But if you hated it, how slow does the clock?
Exactly. Great point. Great point. And you like, even when you look at great sportsmen and footballers, for example, I think we were discussing this once a few weeks ago and we used Ben Cousins as an example. How he would play, he was such a great footballer, but what made him better than anyone else? Was he just more passionate, or did he train harder? I bet everyone in his team played, trained, and was as passionate as he was, but he was just, when he was playing, he was just totally there.
He was totally.
He was in the zone.
Maybe the drugs helped too.
Yeah.
He was like someone like Cousins, or like, you know, any great player, Chris Judd or whatever. All of those players, sport. Why are they so good? You know what I mean?
Or anyone that excels or whatever they do.
Yeah.
And it's because they're able to totally be in that space.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's the secret to life.
Yeah, being in that space. Can you get into that space?
Second part to my question.
There's 2, that's right.
You mentioned something about not wanting to kind of, not wanting, but the person you were before. and recovery was always, the aim was trying to get you to be that person. What advice would you give? You had a stroke at 38. What advice would you give yourself if you could at 28?
All right, so now what you know now, what do you mean, bro? If we go back before the stroke, what advice?
Don't lie down for this one, mate. It's getting quite deep.
That's what we do here at Unfiltered, mate. We go deep. Yeah. That's a good bloody question, actually.
Yeah, I reckon, because when I was at 28, I was just on that cusp of transitioning from being in bands and doing that to fatherhood, or just almost about 2 years away.
Yeah.
But, so I would say not to let go of being who you are, because once you start life as an adult,
As like an adult, yeah.
right, as an adult, like, you've got a job, you've got a mortgage, you've got a family, all that stuff. The things you love to do become less part of your life. And I did that when I started having children. I kind of gave music up, not gave it up, but I just pushed it aside and started doing a job. And that hurt, but I did it.
Of course, you did the right thing.
Yeah.
The right thing.
That's what we all do. But I feel like now, if I was then again and had the wisdom that I have now, I would have probably not made that choice.
Yeah.
That choice was based on a bit of fear and a bit of that's what everyone else does. That's what we should do. Yep. And I think I would have probably chosen to still do music, but maybe in a way like I'm doing now, where I have a studio and maybe built that up.
Yeah. It's funny, that's everything you just said. We've discussed an album before, Blonde.
Yes.
A song called Siegfried, where he discusses what you just mentioned, living a certain life and then kind of transitioning into the next chapter of your life. But is it by force? Am I doing it because this is what the social norm is? And am I giving up who I actually am? And what am I truly giving up?
Yeah.
And for what?
Yep.
And is that what I want? And there's that fear and there's that anxiety about it. And so it's
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's what happens. And a lot of times, you get forced into doing the family in a way, you know what I mean?
It's
because what
forced,
happens?
I know what you're saying.
You
get put in a position.
and then the big one is the financial burden that people put themselves under, right? So, you get yourself the mortgage, and then you get yourself the car, and then you got no choice. And all of a sudden, you know what I mean? And then of course you have to put that stuff on the back burner.
Yeah,
you got responsibilities,
you're right.
You know what I mean? And we all do the right thing. We've got kids, and now we've got to look after them, But you're right. What do you give up?
Yeah, because you're giving something up.
You have
and
to.
And that's piece of the thing that makes you most happiest, really.
When I was
family, you can't replace family.
No, absolutely.
No. And at the end of the day, of course, I'll never replace my kids. But they fucked everything. You never replace your kids. Of course, your kids are your kids. I do understand that, you know what I mean? But I tell my kids now, I even tell Dylan and that, because he's now at that 19, he's going to work, and then I'd be happy for him to just drop everything and go overseas and just travel,
just live,
and just do whatever you got to do, man. So, mate, trust me, man, getting a job, mate, down the line, if it'll happen.
Because we live in an age where you can change your career pretty easily now. You can do a course. There's hundreds of them online all the time. You can I know you might have to take a step back, but then again, it's that fear. It's fear really is what's stopping us.
The fear is the worst thing. Making change is the hardest thing to do. I've always said the easiest thing to do in life is nothing. Just do nothing. Just stay what you're doing. Just keep doing that. The hardest thing to do is to make a change. You know what I mean? And it's not easy to do, you know what I mean?
You're right.
One of the biggest blessings in my life, was when I was about 15. Something happened and I just knew what I didn't want in life. I was at a shopping centre. It's Christmas time. I'll never forget this. I actually spoke about this the other night with my missus. I saw this guy pushing a trolley, and he had 4 kids, right? Yeah. And one of the kids was on his shoulder screaming at him. The other kid was ripping off boxes in the trolley. and you know, kids are just mucking around, and his missus is just yelling at him.
Yeah.
And he just looked
Miserable.
fucking
Miserable.
soulless.
Yeah.
And I remember being 15, just like, I'll never be that guy.
That's pretty profound at that age. To think
I
that way.
never want to be that guy ever.
Yeah.
You know, and I've kind of made it, like I kind of lost that at one point.
Yeah.
But it just kind of always stuck with me. And I'm at the point now where it's just like, if it's not going to bring me joy,
I don't do it.
fuck it. Like, well, I'm lucky I don't have kids, right? So I'm not kind of stuck.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So I'm 37. I don't have that, like, kids aren't a burden. But they are.
They
right?
are.
It's a
Financial burden,
it's a burden.
it's all that, yeah.
Right? So it's like, I was so lucky, I didn't get sucked in with the wrong person. And you know, I'm so thankful for that moment.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so thankful for that one moment. That one guy who just saved my life.
Saved your life,
you know,
mate.
and he'll never know.
If you were there,
It's
maybe
probably-
if you weren't there that moment as you crossed path, you know
honestly,
what I mean?
it was honestly one of the most important moments in my life. Just witnessing that at 15.
That, you know, at 15, most kids at 15 would have not
Yeah,
noticed
even
that.
noticed that.
I've always been a bit.
Not even noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
know-
It just stuck with me. Like he's just seeing this lifeless, soulless
Yeah,
man,
100%,
who
man.
probably works 60 hours a week. His missus is yelling at him
Yeah.
for God knows what, and his kids are running
The
amok. and I
kids are
just
driving him nuts, man.
thought- I just thought, nah.
And you know, like I know people like that too, you know,
Yeah.
even now, you know what I mean? I mean, we're only here for a short time, man. We're only here for a short time, like, and no matter what happens to you, like that happened to you, but things have happened to us, man. Sorry. Like, look forward, mate. What's next? What can we do? You know what I mean? How can we improve it? You know, how can I feel better? What can we do? You know, like, you know that, you know, stop and smell the roses. It's so stupid, but it's so true.
Yeah, it's
so true, mate. Stop and smell the roses.
Oh,
mate.
absolutely.
And that's why I, you know, like, I'm thinking, you know, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do, and I enjoy those. Yeah, the sunset. You know, you sit there, you watch it, you're sitting back, you're talking with your friends, and that, like, that's all I want. You know, I suppose as you get older, the simple things in life.
Yeah, that's what.
I think it is, you know what I mean?
simple
At the start, when you're young, man, you're gun ho.
You've got your
but-
blinders on.
Yeah, you got to. Not everyone sort of shifts to that way of thinking. Some
No.
people still spend their whole lives not thinking about that at all.
Some people are just fucking miserable though.
Yeah, yeah.
Like man, like I love all my customers, but some of my customers,
Oh, customers are the worst because there are some that like fucking.
especially in my industry,
Yeah.
like
The alcohol,
Yeah.
it's it's like fuck these people just have nothing to look forward to. You
No,
know?
no,
And
I know.
it's sad. It's and it's just like hey, it's almost like a blessing that I get to deal with these people
Yeah,
because
'cause
I get to be like.
Yeah.
You're right.
You know, this is like a warning sign, you know, like, let's cool things off.
You know, one
Life's-
thing that I always think about, like, money is the root of all evil, man. I'm telling you, it is the root of all evil because it controls a lot of people, and a lot of people, that's what they're chasing, you know? They're chasing the money, you know what I mean? But what you should be chasing is the happiness, you know what I mean? Not the money.
Yeah.
Because the money doesn't give you happiness. Because I've always said, if you're not happy without money, you'll never be happy with money, right? And chasing that money, chasing the car, chasing that, at the end, it doesn't make you happy, you know
doesn't
what I
go
mean?
with you either.
No, and it doesn't go with you, you know what I mean? So it's about time people start chasing, you know, and I even see it like in my industry, like people are, like, they're working so hard at the moment and they're going to work to 70 because they're pumping their super, right? But when they retire, they want that money. Man, at 70, I won't be able to do anything anymore, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like, how much do you really need? Like, what do you really need? Like, and that's where I'm at in my life. What do I really need? You know what I mean? Do you really need that? Like, so, you know, I just want to...
I'll tell you what you need. When you're 70,
You need Unfiltered every
you
Tuesday.
need Unfiltered every Tuesday. But you just need good company,
Yes.
you know what I mean? And that's about it.
And your health.
Well, health is the big
Health
one.
and a lot. I think you're right. Is building that wealth at 70. A lot of people strive for, but they don't necessarily look at how they're going to maintain their health, because we are living in a society now where people are not living in good health to 70 and 80 years. People die
But
younger.
this is what I mean. They're
So
working
what are you going to
towards-
enjoy? And there's this saying by the Dalai Lama that I'm not trying to repeat it because I'll probably get it all wrong, but it's like the funny thing about human beings is they spend their whole life making money and neglect their health, and then they spend all their money trying to rebuy their
Yeah, I've heard that actually.
something like that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
And
that's right.
When you stop and think about it, it's
100%. 100%. And this is what I mean. It's about time. To me, I've always said, like, the most important thing to life for me is time now. That's the most precious thing. And because with time, you can do stuff, you know. And sometimes you're wasting your life doing this other stuff, but the time is just, like Pink Floyd says, ticking away the moments that make up a dull day, you know. Like, that's all you're doing, you know. And then it doesn't stop. The clock does not stop, mate. You know what I mean? And again, that's the same with you. You know, you have this horrendous thing happen to you at the time. You know, does it mean you stop? Does it mean you just give up? You know, you got so much time in front of you. You know what I mean? What can I do? And maybe you can't play the guitar anymore, but you play like the keyboard now. You're, you know,
yeah, that's what it is. It's just finding ways to make it work. For each individual person. Absolutely.
We've got a couple of things. First of all, we've got Rocco saying, "Come on, Andy, why should you be happy? Come and join the rest of us." Right? That's exactly right.
Tell you what, I found a good woman. I just might.
Yeah, well, oh, that's what you do need a good woman. And they either make it easy or hard for you.
Absolutely, I learnt that the hard way.
Yeah,
mate.
I know you
learnt
did.
that the
I know
hard
you
way.
did. I know you did. Yeah, so they either make your life easy or they make it hard. What does that? Let me. There was another one here I read. Rocco said also this, and I know you have. But have you done any public talks and schools, etc.?
Who, me?
Yeah, not me.
Yeah, I do. I was a volunteer at the Stroke Foundation, and I was raising public awareness and doing presentations. And through that role, I'm not doing that at the moment. I gave it up last year.
Yeah.
I did for about 9 years. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. And there was a whole program that I was involved with, raising awareness as a slideshow. And at the beginning, when I joined the group, and going to the city meetings, it was just a real lovely energy. People were really friendly, and you know, it was nice. No one was there to earn money. Everyone was just there because we're here for a greater cause.
Yeah.
To raise, and it just had this really nice energy, and I enjoyed that. And then I'd go out and do those talks, and I did a bunch from, you know, a lot of clubs like Lions Club and Rotary clubs. But I also did some at Melbourne Uni. I did one at St Vincent's Hospital.
Yep.
So I've done one on radio. Yeah. So, but I also had become for the Stroke Foundation, I'm the Italian Stroke Ambassador Representative, and they did this story.
Oh,
on me.
wow.
And I was on SBS radio, and I remember the guy called me and said, "I'm going to do an interview in Italian. What's your Italian like?"
Don't do it.
It's not going to work. He's talking me through it. Okay, this how you say this.
So did you do it in Italian?
Yeah, like a real snippet. So I did that.
Tough, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit tough. I did that, and, you know, so, and then I become, they did a big story and they sent that out to the Italian community.
Yeah, no, that's good, and I suppose that would have been like also rewarding for you.
Absolutely, helping others. And
It's a really good feeling, and again, it's going back to that thing about doing what fulfills you, and that fulfilled me. I really enjoyed doing that and felt like I was giving back to society, because I felt like through my recovery I got so much support from nurses and doctors and family and the public health system. I got a lot of support, so I felt like I wanted to give something back and use my experience as, I guess, a benefit for raising awareness.
No, of course, and man, that's, you know what I mean, when you can give back, especially like
That's what it's all about.
100%. You drive?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that go? How did you get your license again? You have to redo your license.
I had to redo the whole license. So I had that feeling of getting your license at 18 again, twice. Once when I was 18 and then once at 39. So I got my license, and I write about it in the story in the book, where my therapist, occupational therapist, is like, I think it was probably about 9 months later, I was determined to drive, and I said to her, I want to drive, and she's going, no, you're not ready. I'm going, yeah, I'm ready. Let's put me down. I want to drive before Christmas. You're not really ready to drive. Maybe next year. No. Put me down on the list, and I want to drive. She puts me on the list, and then I did a couple of lessons, failed, went back again, and I got my license. And I was driving within.
That's amazing.
No time.
That's so sick.
It was crazy.
You have to do, there's a few things you've got to do. Like, have you still got one of those?
Yeah, I've got a spinning knob. I've got one of those spinning knobs. Not for the driving, so I can text. That's not true.
Fantastic.
Got that. Yeah, I'm driving with, because I've got vision problems with this eye, so with a patch over this eye, and I can't drive a manual because I don't have good control of the left leg for clutching. So things like that. I'm driving.
Oh, you're there, man.
Yeah.
People don't realise how important driving is.
Wow.
Like your independence.
I lost my license for 2 years, mate.
Wow. How do you feel? You feel like it's such a burden asking people for a lift and then waiting and cabs, and that was a big impact. But it was a great feeling getting back to driving, I must admit, because then suddenly I can go everywhere and anywhere. And go to my appointments, because at the beginning there was just so many appointments. I did get sick and tired of all the appointments. Every week there was this appointment, that appointment. So, and then not having a car, relying on my dad a lot, driving me to appointments. And then I got my license, and it was just part of that. Mate, it was just that slow churn in independence, regaining independence.
Tell me about when you had to have the radiation.
Yeah.
So what happened there? Like, you went to see the doctor, because then they were saying that you needed to do it, because they're giving you these stats about happening, like, are you going to survive and that. So tell us how it come about with that.
The condition that I have is the AVM. Apparently it has a high statistic of a rebleed. So when I had to get it treated, and there's a few ways you can treat it. They can either remove it, go in, have brain surgery, remove it. They can go in and clamp it. Sounds weird, but they can sort of put it like a clamp on it. And we're talking about a tiny vein. Yeah. Or they can use radiation. But because mine was in my brain stem, and in the brain stem, it's where your heart operates your heart and your breathing. It's all those things your body does that you're not consciously thinking of. Is controlled by the brain stem area. That's why it had such an impact on me. So when I had started seeing the surgeons, they're like, I can't do anything, I'll send you to someone else. And a brain surgeon couldn't remove it. Send me to another guy who does the clamping. It's all these guys had this specific skill. One brain surgeon did that. So I went and saw about 3 or 4 guys, and then finally got to the end, and there was a radiation guy who was going to treat it with radiation. So they were going to basically send radiation to my brain and fuse it at this point where the AVM was in my brainstem. But the process involved, there was a couple of steps where, one, they had to make a mask for my face. So when I'm in the radiation machine, they bolt the mask they put the mask on and bolt it to the bed.
So you wouldn't move.
So I couldn't move, because if you think about it, if you're lying there and you move
a bit,
and then
you die.
Or they could hit something else. So it was such a concern about hitting something else, because the surgeons were like, if I perform removal surgery, I might kill you, because if I hit something, or so it was that's fucked. So you're there. You're in these little consulting rooms with these surgeons, and they're hitting you with statistics. If you don't treat it, you got a chance of 3% per year. Over 3 years, that's 15%. Or 5 years, it's hit me with all these statistics. I'm like, dude, man, just slow down, man. Freaking me out. So I had to make a call. Do I do it? Do I don't do it? Because if I do it, they're saying if you do it, it could either kill you, or you'll never walk again, or you could be blind. So you're like, well, if you don't do it, you got a 3% chance of a rebleed every year. After 5 years, that's 15%. And you start to do you're there, and I'm doing the math. 15, 10 years. That's
30%. 20 years. That's 60%.
Put my name down. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So I decided to do the radiation, but only got through 2 treatments, and it made me feel like death. So I just went, I'm out. I just decided, I went through that painful process of deciding to just live with it. And it's 15 years. So effectively now 15 years 3% a year. What's that? A lot.
45%.
45%.
So I seem to be doing okay.
Yeah.
And again, back to statistics. Apparently, these things only high chance of bleed between the ages of 30 and 40. I'm in my 50s, so I feel like I'm out of that danger zone. And
hopefully, yeah.
Decision I made. But it was.
Are you worried? Something's gonna happen again?
Sometimes I think about it, but then I don't know. It's just go, well, I should get it checked. I should go and have another MRI.
But you're supposed to get checked, but you've been a bit slack, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been a bit slack.
So even then, you get slack.
Yeah.
Like even with the worst of that, you get slack again. You know what I mean?
Because you know what it is.
Human,
Yeah, because you go and see these people, and you've got all these questions, and they give you 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You've seen it. You're paying $300 to see a surgeon.
Yeah.
You're like up. Your time's up, man. You got to go, and I did have an MRI recently, and nothing was flagged. So when I say recently, probably a year ago, nothing was flagged. So
it's good.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's all.
But the radiation, it really just was horrible.
I can imagine.
Horrible.
The thing is, when you said you said there's a chance, and I know probably they say that with all surgery, there's a chance you can die, but mate, when you would have been, because I think, I don't know, was it in the book or you told me, I can't remember, but you said you're lying there, and then the first time you said it went pretty smoothly, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then you got out and you go, oh, this is I'm not dead, I'm doing all right.
Yeah. Because I had to have 11 treatments.
Yeah.
And the first one was a cinch, which was the scariest because it was the first experience.
Yeah.
So the second time I went in for the next treatment, I felt quite confident. But that wrecked me. That was on a Friday, and the weekend was horrible. It was and maybe it was just anxiety. Again, I'm in the early stages. It's only a year later. It was a year later. We just won that band competition, and we're in the studio recording an album. And in between the album, I'm doing radiation treatment. So I'm trying to get to the recording sessions. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
And it just made me feel like the second treatment just made me feel like death.
It's insane.
My head felt like that weekend my head was going to explode. And I was at the beginning of understanding mental health, and I was going through anxiety. Maybe it was just anxiety, but the hospital didn't provide
enough
very good support.
Yeah. Did you say that on the second one, the doctor went on holiday?
Yeah, he was gone. I was flipping out and went into hospital because thought I was dying. And I called from the hospital bed. I called the other hospital to speak to the surgeon. What I needed some answers. What's going on? He was on holiday. I just felt like, what the? I'm nearly dead here, and you're on holidays. I just felt and after that was the kind of, I guess for me, I just can't continue with this. It's not. If I perhaps had a better support system, if they kept me in hospital during the process, I think it would have been better. But I was already starting to feel weak, and my arm was hurting more, and I had balance, and it was harder to get the words out, and so I just didn't feel like it was going to go. And then I started to feel like maybe I made the wrong decision, and I was starting to second guess myself, and so I just pulled the pin.
What's hard for you now? What do you find hard for you now to do? What is that? What's probably one of the most difficult things that you find that before you used to do and now?
It's a detail stuff, like trying to get this hand to, even when I was coming and I was putting those little example, those books that I brought you into my bag, and I was standing there and I couldn't get the bag just to position itself right. So I get the books, you just don't realise how hard that is when you got one crappy hand. And I just couldn't get it. I was like throwing the bag, was just slipping away, and it's at the end of the table. And I was going to, I wanted to just throw it across the room. You learn to manage that, but it's those things can be a bit difficult. And you've got to stage everything. You've got to think of it. Like, I shouldn't have done that. I should have sat down, put the bag on my lap, and prepared it a bit better. Took the latches off a bit better, and but I didn't, because I was in a hurry. I had my keys ready to go. I wanted to come here. So
I remember you, even in the book, you were saying even washing the dishes, you'd have to stand there, your feet apart. You consciously were working out how you got to stand, what you got to do just to wash the dishes.
It's mentally exhausting.
And that's the other thing, because you're almost thinking about everything you're doing, so it would be mentally exhausting.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%, man. So the music, you're still writing your music. What are you doing now as far as with your music?
Yeah, still making music.
I think I've got a picture of some of your. Actually, I have here. I've got to get up. I can't see. Merda here. Where have I got it here? I reckon I've got it. Albums. There you go. There's your boy Kai Wolf.
Yeah,
There's that one album. And then the middle one, is that when you were over in?
Yeah, that's Usher Bloom in London. I'm on the right, played guitar.
Yeah.
In that hazy photograph.
And that was the Lion Tamers.
And the one on the end is the Lion Tamers, which was literally after. There was the the group of songs I wrote after the stroke, whereas Boy Cried Wolf then, not that album, but the Boy Cried Wolf was the songs from the pre-stroke. But that album there is the songs I've written over the last couple of years. And that's a loose project that Adam and I work on together, just as a duo. And my songs, I record them in my studio. And I was telling you how this process works, is that we don't meet. We don't get together to work on the song. We don't even talk. I just message him and say, hey man, I've got another song. You want to do another song? Yeah, okay, send it across. And I'll send him the song with the lyrics, all the music I've put together in my studio. I'll record a rough vocal, send it to him. He does his bits, records a vocal, adds guitar, just give him free range to do that. And then he sends the files back via email. And then I just put it all back into my studio. And that boy, the Usher Bloom album, most of that was made, about half of it was made during COVID with the guys from London that I was in a band with, and I just connected with everyone and got my old 8-track recorder tape machine, got all the files into my computer, took forever, and then chopped up all the files, edited them, built all the drums, and then I sent them to the boys from in London, and they added their bits, and they sent me the files back, and we released the album after 20 years of and those demos were recorded in my. They were from the original recordings. Were from the demos we recorded in my little London bedsit on my little 8-track recorder with a drum machine and a $5 microphone. And it's just technology that
that's crazy.
It's cool. Tell us about. Thank you. Your time in London when you were playing in the bands. How good was that? That was probably one of your best.
It was good.
One of your best times.
28 years old.
Yeah.
Playing in a London band. It was great. It was a little 4-piece. Bass drums. Me on guitar and a vocalist who played guitar as well. And we were just gigging a lot. There was a couple of incarnations, a few different members like that Rain.
Yeah, that's right.
We had different lineups, but it was mainly myself and the singer, and we worked together for about 6 years writing songs.
Close this window a little bit less. Yeah. And going around, like you say, you were saying that, you're going around and you're doing what you want to do. That's what you were doing at the time, because you took off from Melbourne and you went off to England practically by yourself.
I travelled first.
You travelled first to Leo, backpacker,
with the intention to get to London.
Yeah.
Then I got to London, and then about, a year later.
How do you start? So you're in London, you know nobody?
No, I didn't know anyone.
So how do you start a band? Like, how do you start playing with somebody? Or how do you start a band? What happened?
Just through ads. I saw an ad, and I met a guy who wasn't from London. He was from Bath. That's right, Bath, which is out of London.
Yeah.
And he was in London to make music. He was a singer, songwriter.
He put out an ad, did he?
He put out an ad, and I replied. And he and I met, and we just become like brothers. When you meet someone and and our lives, from that moment we met, we were just together for 6 years, almost daily. We just made so much music. We'd jam, write, record. I had my little 8-track, and we built bands, and we got signed. We got signed as a duo, not as a band, as a duo. He and I. And it just got, and again, back in those days was cassettes. Our cassette landed on a record producer's desk. He listened to it, got a phone call.
Wow, how exciting is that phone call?
It was super exciting. It was great. And then we met in a South London pub and signed the contracts in the pub. Well, got given the contracts in the pub, had a
Wow.
few beers, and then we started.
Top of the world, mate. Like,
Yeah,
you must be
it
thinking like
was,
this.
Rock. It was.
Do you think it like this? This is it.
This is it. I was like, we go. This is it. Me and Maines would be going. I'm going to buy a house in France. I'm going to buy myself a little, maybe an Aston Martin, a little pad in London, central London. You're thinking
Hang
like
out
that,
with Oasis, hang out with.
Yeah, you do it.
Yeah.
We're going to play. You know, what's that? Big Glastonbury. We're going to do Glastonbury. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun, and then we picked up a manager, and that manager wasted our time, and he made us all these promises that never eventuated. But when we got that deal and we were recording, because then we got to record in this big studio, and it was built in one of those old, London homes. They're all like terrace built homes, and there was 3 stories or 4 stories, and like the studio control room was at the top. The second level was the vocal booth, the office, and the basement was where all the instruments were recorded. So I'd go down and record guitar parts, and then run upstairs and listen back to them. So it was really cool. The producer was the drummer from. Do you remember Shakin' Stevens?
Yeah.
He was the drummer from Shakin' Stevens. He was also in another band called Red Box.
This Old House, was it?
That's it. So he played drums on the track.
Yeah.
I did all the guitars, played bass and some string arrangements, and we recorded the single. I was like, I was in heaven, here I am. I remember the first recording we did when we started the track. I had to lay down the guitars, so I'm down there in the basement. The guys are upstairs. I can see them on the screen, and there's all these microphones, and I've got this acoustic guitar that's worth like $3,000. It wasn't mine. It was the studio lent it to me, and I'm fucking so nervous, because it was the first thing. And when you record to a click, there's no other instruments. It's dry.
You just got to play your instrument.
That's it. You hear everything, every little, and it's just, you just sound so exposed. And I go up and I listen to it. I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible. You can just hear everything. The timing isn't good.
How many times do you have to do it?
I can't remember. I did stacks of takes, or we did shot sections, but then once the song started to get built, the drummer put the drums down, and we had the bass, and then it's like, oh yeah, it's coming together. And that was my first real high-end recording experience. I'm recording demos at home on a cassette, and when you're recording on an 8-track, everything just sounds mashed together. But all of a sudden, you're recording on, high digital Pro Tools, high-end expensive microphones. You hear everything, every little scratch, and so it was but it was a great experience. I have fond memories of that time, and we'd record all day, be in the studio. We only did a single and a second track, and we'd go into the studio at 11, and then work all day till like 11:15 at night, and then one of us would run across to the pub, so English, order just before the bell rings, get our last order in, and then the rest of us would go over and we'd have a pint, and that would be the night, and then we'd go home. It was really good times.
Far out.
Crazy.
That's the best times. Just having fun, doing what you want to do.
What was also really cool was through the studio. They were a big studio. They were like a publishing house that did a lot of films. They had some big acts, and I'd be in the studio the day before. There was. Do you remember Prodigy?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were in the studio the day before, and then the singer. There was a session singer that worked through the studio. She was there. She'd worked with Tom Jones, and so you were mixing with all those people, and we weren't part of it. I wasn't rubbing shoulders with them or rubbing elbows.
Doesn't matter.
But that was the talk. Hey, I was with so and so. I did a session with what's the names yesterday. And so it was cool just to be part of that. It was just really fulfilling. I felt like we're here. We've made it.
What do you listen to now? What do you like? What do you like? What do you listen to?
So much stuff, really. I still love band music. You know what I mean by band music? But then I say that. I mean, like for example, lately I've been a bit of a Stevie Wonder trip.
Oh yeah.
Listening to Stevie Wonder and love Stevie Wonder.
He was, Stevie Wonder. I actually listened to a podcast last night about Stevie Wonder for some reason.
Wow,
right?
there you go.
I don't know why, but I listened to him about his life. He was a fucking good
multi-instrumentalist.
Multi.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he plays drums on a lot of the tracks, and
I thought he was just this blind guy could sing a song, man. This bloke like multi, and he was very talented when he was
talented,
young.
yeah. He was
I didn't know.
He was like Prince, of
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
I listen to them. I listen to him a lot. I like to listen to him. Playlists of his, not all his stuff.
What kind of bands are you into? You said you like bands.
Yeah, I really love Radiohead. Like I just love Radiohead. But then I also like listening to stuff that's a bit acoustic. I've been on a bit of a trip listening to stuff that's raw, like maybe just one guitar and a vocal. I like stuff like that. And then I like listening to things that are like maybe an artist has done a version of something. Just anything that's just really heartfelt and raw and music. But then I like later I've been listening to a band called Mansionaire. Heard of them?
No.
They're an Aussie band from Sydney. And they're very electronic. They're only a 3-piece.
Okay.
And it's all electronics. And I like that because I can do that in my studio. Just one-handed. So I was like, I'm starting to like that. And I've explored a bit of that. So I'm liking that. But then I also love, there's another band, have you heard of the band called The Wood Brothers?
No.
They're from Nashville. They're great. They're just 3 guys. One plays a double bass, one sings a guitar, and there's another guy playing just half a drum kit and a bit of piano at the same time. Like that,
Do you
and
listen to, because you play your instruments and you've been a muso all your life, do you listen to, would you listen to music differently to other people? Like,
I don't know, I don't think I do, but...
Because wouldn't you be like...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're noticing stuff, you know what I mean? Like more like, I'll give you an example. Like I did a bit of like acting and a bit of like extra work. I did for 5 years. Sometimes I watch movies, right? And I'll look at that extra. I bet you he's been sitting there all day, and you would never notice that. And they say a good extra, you don't notice, or you sit there and then you see like people like, when you're doing extra work, like I was on Neighbours a couple of times as an extra, right? So when you're doing extra work, what happens is, right, there's you can't make any noise, right? So what happens is they come in, they do their dialogue, and you're in the background. So I was at the pub scene, right? You're in the background, but you got a mouth, so you got to talk to each other with no sound.
Oh, so you just go...
Yes.
Really?
Well, a good way to do it is watermelon. But you can't say it out loud. So you'd be going watermelon.
But if you're talking to someone, are you both doing that, or you go?
Well, that was like one little trick I heard, but they would probably, like a lot of extras don't know what they're doing, So you get called up and you just stand there, you know what I mean? And then what would happen is you just sit there, and then and then there's takes, you know what I mean? So you're off, and then you get to know each other, and then you have a bit of a laugh, and then they go and they keep changing things around. So they might go, all right, you go and stand over there, you have a drink over there, and then you go and talk to her over there. So you sit there, and then you got to you got to pretend you're talking. So I kind of notice those things in movies and that's what I'm wondering with the music. Like you notice, like when you see it, and you see like a raw band, someone might say like, they're fucking shit, But you're listening, you go, mate, that was good. That was a lot of work. I can understand the work they put into it. Yeah,
I think I do that. As you said, I was thinking about just talking with a friend the other day about a song, and I was like, listen to the bass line and the kick drum.
That's what I mean.
Look how tight they are. Listen to how they work.
Yeah.
She's like. I've never noticed. I'm like, I just listen to sometimes I'll listen to a track and just listen to the drum track and the bass line and see how they link them together, because a lot of people don't realise bass and guitar and bass drum, they just work together. They're the rhythm section, and I call it like the bass guitar is like the bridge from the melodic section to the rhythmic section. So it connects the two together. So if you listen to a good band, you'll hear the bass player playing in time with the kick drum. So like the boom 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 on the kick drum, and I love it when a band works on that, because to me it's just really good musicians.
Now I just said to him before, do you listen to different? He goes, no, and then he just named like 10 things that he's listening to, and that's what I mean. You're picking stuff. I am. And the other thing too, I think like what you do, or maybe me, and a bit like, and in sport, if you go and watch sport or you play sport, you appreciate how hard it is.
Yeah,
you appreciate the work that gets done to it.
yeah.
So instead of sitting there going, you're shit and that, you go, I can understand the work he's put into it, or what it takes to get that shot, or what it takes to get that tune together.
But I'll challenge you both now to do that. Next time you listen to your favourite songs, just listen to a section. Don't listen to the song, just listen to the bass, particular the bass and the drums.
Yeah.
Especially if you're listening to Pink Floyd or band orientated, are you into hip hop?
Going to everything.
Okay, hip hop as well. There's a lot of low end in hip hop.
Yeah.
If you listen, they don't necessarily focus on the bass connecting with the kick drum, but you might listen to the tones, how they work together. And I do love listening to that. Sometimes I listen to it, go, love it.
And it's a different way sometimes listening to music. You know what I mean? So you listen to a particular thing and that. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
it's funny because.
But do that too.
I will.
See what you think.
I find myself doing that when I listen to Kanye West. Because I'm a massive fan of Kanye
West. Massive.
Right? So it's like understanding his production style and what he likes to bring to the production table. Really taking it. He's a good. I wouldn't say he's a great rapper. He's a good rapper. No. But it's his instrumentation.
He does all that too, doesn't he? He does all that. He doesn't get someone to make beats for him.
No, he probably works. Kanye's a massive collaborator, right? Openly, so he doesn't try to hide it. If you're in the room with Kanye, you're getting a credit on that track. He's really big on it.
Okay.
But I've like
DP, what did I just call him? Who's the rapper now? P. Diddy. He gives credit to everyone.
He Diddy's everyone. So I'm a massive Kanye West fan. So when I listen to Kanye is probably the only hip hop artist I listen to and really focus on his instrumentals, really focus on his production. Yeah. It just sometimes it takes away from what he's actually saying.
Yeah.
Because it's that great, it's that powerful and so grand.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Because I remember listening to a story, whether he was saying it or someone was talking about him, where when he was in early days, he'd be making beats just in his little on his little setup and making beats and trying to send in demos out. I hear 3 beats a day, and I'd make beats for my clients, and I'm like, how do you do that in three beats a day? It takes me 4 hours to make one beat.
Yeah.
3. That's just
look, you can say whatever you want about him, he's a nutter, but he's a genius,
Should we get into it?
Yeah, that's why I wrote it.
So yeah.
This is
so every episode, man. Exchange some records. So I brought 2 in.
Yeah, I know.
Because I feel like they go hand in hand.
You did tell me that.
Right?
One goes hand in hand.
Now, this album comes first. They're both Kanye West albums.
Yeah.
This is 808 and Heartbreak.
Yeah.
And this one here is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. All right. Now, 808 and Heartbreak, for me, is probably the most influential. I wouldn't even call it hip hop. Probably the most influential, I'll just say Kanye album.
Yep.
Probably album in general in the hip hop R&B kind of scene. So nobody was really doing this before this album.
Really?
Right? So
which other songs are on there? Which standout songs?
So, you got songs like Love Lockdown, which was really popular. Heartless, which was, I think the second track on the album. But, there's not a miss on the album.
Okay.
Right?
I'll check it out.
It's heavy 808 drum.
Yeah, that's because I was going to say, you know where the 808 connection is?
Yeah, so it's a heavy 808 influence. He uses auto-tune on the whole album. So he sings on pretty much every track, which was very different from everything he had recorded prior to this. So before this album, Kanye broke up with his fiancée of however many years, and his mum died. Right? So he releases this album. This album copped so much hate when it came out because it's not hip hop, that's not R&B. Well, what is it? It was you probably know, being in the music industry, when something comes from left field, people kind of are not shocked, but they're a bit hesitant to kind of embrace it.
Yep.
And there was more than hesitation with this album.
Did you embrace it straight away?
I loved it instantly. I love different. So like I don't want to say I hate the current state of hip hop, but there's no originality. There's nothing different happening right now. So when this album came out in 08, I think it was, or 21, whatever, it blew my mind, right? And it's just layered with, you know, songs about, you know, life, relationships, family, 808s and heartbreak, right? It's in the title. This album, in my...
Did that come afterwards?
This was the very next album.
Yep.
This was Kanye's fuck you to the industry and to everyone. Because he copped so much shit for this that he decided, you know what, I'm going to make one of the greatest albums of all time.
How's that different to that?
It's a completely different sound.
Yep.
All right, this is sad Kanye. This is arrogant.
Fuck you.
This was the beginning of, because this, all the hate it copped, Kanye, this was still a very successful album.
Yeah.
Without this album, there'd be no artist like probably Drake, who's, you know, the most streamed artist in the world right now.
Still.
Every month he's been the highest streamed rapper. Sorry, right?
Okay.
But for what he does, The Weeknd is the highest streamed artist in the world right now. Kid Cudi, probably even Travis Scott. Like there are so many artists who were born influenced by this album, right? And then this album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So
I love you. You know, I love Andy. I love the love in his face at this moment. The passion in his face. Music.
No, this is I love music, right? So this album, Kanye had just multiple. So every album he's ever released has hit number one, right? Even that one. Just married into the Kardashian family, or just maybe not married, but he just got with Kim Kardashian. Everyone's calling him the greatest artist alive. Everyone's, you know, praising him, but he still had that chip on his shoulder from the previous, you know, criticism he copped, and he just delivered. Like, in my opinion, it's you know, probably in my.
Do you want a drink? Sorry. Do you want to drink a water or something?
I'm good. I've got water here.
I'm good.
I need a water.
This is one of the greatest albums ever made, any genre. Right? Like,
really?
This is phenomenal album.
All right, so you're giving me the greatest album he's ever
I'm one off.
Yeah.
But is that a double album?
No. What, this one?
Yeah.
No. It's just one album.
The cover.
Just the cover and all that.
He's got his boots in there, you know, those boots that he wears up there.
But what he was able to the messages he was able to give with this album was like no matter what you say about me, I'm the greatest artist alive, and I know it, but more importantly, you know it. Right? It's got one of the greatest songs of all time, Runaway. I don't know if you probably would have heard Runaway somewhere. It's a really popular song.
I've got to hear it, like the names.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to numerous Kanye West concerts, and I've been to hundreds, but a lot of concerts, right, in general. And when they play Runaway, and Runaway is not a concert track, like, it's not one of those songs they just play in the background, right? Like, when they play this, it starts with a piano key. And it just, the whole stadium just always erupts with that one.
Just known.
Just that note. Just bang, and it just goes off, right? And these two albums, man, just
I'm going
literally two of the greatest pieces of music. And this one's probably not as easy to digest.
Yep.
This one has.
Is that one called again?
This is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Which album was the breakout album commercially, in terms of when he became known?
The College Dropout.
A College Dropout.
Yeah, so Kanye had mixtapes, and he was doing a lot of production for Jay-Z, especially, but he was doing a lot of New York-based production. He was working with a lot of Chicago artists, being from Chicago as well. But the College Dropout is when he first kind of broke out, that album. Then he had Late Registration, and those two albums were both like critically acclaimed, Grammys, multiple Grammys, all that. And then Graduation, so there was College Dropout, Late Registration, and Graduation. And that kind of capped off the trilogy of college albums. And then 808s came, and that kind of changed albums.
So that was later?
Yeah, so 808s, and then My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And then he did Watch the Throne with Jay-Z, and then Yeezus, I'm pretty sure. And Yeezus is just out there. But these two albums, I feel like, have to be heard. This one and that one. Like I couldn't just bring one without bringing the other.
And in that order, that one
that's
first.
right.
Yeah, look, they don't relate much, but I just feel you'd know exactly where he is there in life.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the thing with Kanye. Since this album included, onwards, you always know where he's at in life with his music.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He writes about his life.
He writes about his kind of mental state. Like, this album is sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
Right. Like one of my favorite songs, "Hell of a Life," has a song, has a line where it's like, "No more drugs for me. Pussy and religion is all I need," and that sums up this album.
Yeah.
Right. Like it is sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's all it is. And it's one of the most incredible hip-hop albums of all time. So I'll leave these albums. You guys into it. I'd love to know what you think about it, especially you know what, both of them. Yeah.
No, well, I'm definitely going to listen to it. You know, I listen to it every time he gives me an album. Like, and you know what I like about albums too? Like we were saying this on another one of our shows there, was people don't listen to albums anymore from front to back.
Yeah,
and they tell a story.
True.
You know what I mean? You know, now it's like you listen to a song or they listen to a set and then you pick and then you shuffle.
Yeah.
You do the shuffle. The shuffle's no good because you fuck up the whole thing of the album. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I love. Like,
and with albums, as in LPs,
Yeah.
vinyl albums, you are forced to be at home to listen to it. Whereas with
that's true.
Spotify,
you know? I never thought about
Spotify, you're picking it up here and there, and you can do it when you're out on a walk, you do it in your lunch break at work, so you don't get that experience of sitting there and listening to the
it's
album.
almost an effort. You've sat down.
Yeah, you're dedicating that time.
Yeah.
Whereas now with Spotify, music is filling those gaps of when you're not doing things, but when you listen to vinyl, you're actually dedicating time.
100%. And then what you do too, like I've got like on Spotify now, you got your like my mix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and I didn't even make my mix.
It makes it for you.
It makes it for you. So sometimes I just push my mix and all these songs are played. Even if you look up a song, it'll put it in there. So which is fine.
You think it. You just have to think it.
You just got. I'm telling you, man. There's something going on.
I don't like that. I like to seek.
I'm the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the thrill of me actively seeking out new music and just like.
But they just sometimes like also
just coming across a song.
Yeah, or not only that, like just listening to put my mix on and listen to music, not even think about it. Every once in a while, you sing a little bit of it and then you walk away again.
See, I can't do that.
What?
No, you just said play music and just not think about it.
Yeah.
I can't.
But what about at the store?
Yeah, no, I've got playlists that I like whatever mood I'm in. So you could walk into my shop at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday and I'm playing Tupac, like unedited, just you know, I don't.
And you listen to it,
and I love it.
So you're like, hey mate, how much is that Johnny Walker Red? You know, mate,
I'm just bouncing. I'm bouncing. You know, I'm really vibing. It's always playing. Music's always playing around me. You know, so I really dig.
I think we're all the same. Like I've always got some sort of music trying to listen.
I must admit, I've been making playlists of songs from albums I love, and I feel almost guilty to do that because it's like you can't extract that song from that album because that album is just a masterpiece from beginning to end. And I feel, but I've been doing that because I love having that collection of all my favourites songs in one playlist.
Yeah.
But
and as I said, Spotify does it for you.
That's what playlists are for.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, you pick and choose, and I love that. I love the ability to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love curating a playlist. Like if I know I've got a 2-hour drive. Even though I've already got 100 playlists,
you spent 4 hours creating.
What am I feeling? What am I feeling?
2-hour drive.
What am I feeling for this drive? You know, what mood am I in?
Yeah,
so I'll just, I'll add
I
love it.
I do the same.
I'll definitely listen to them. Now I haven't got a record for it because I've been trying to find this record and I want to go and find it. Right, I did buy a couple of records over in Thailand. I've got the Abbey Road record there,
classic.
Yeah, and then I found this one here. This is Men at Work. I found in a shop in Thailand. You know,
cool cover.
That's why I bought it, and I haven't listened to it yet. But I want to listen to that. But that's not That's not what I want you to listen to. Right? What I want.
Abbey Road. or the other one?
No, I don't want you to listen to them because you've heard them and that.
I've heard Abbey Road.
yeah.
I haven't heard
Okay,
that.
Yeah,
that's
I haven't heard the other one either.
Yeah.
Right.
But what I want to listen to. So what happened was on the trip to Thailand on the train. You know, you watch your movies. I watch a movie called Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, I've seen. It's a doco movie.
Well, no, I reckon it's a movie. It's not a doco movie.
No, then it must be
It's a
something
movie.
else.
It's a movie, you know. And I know of Amy Winehouse, and
But you
I've
discovered how fantastic she is.
She's awesome.
far out.
Yeah.
First I watched the movie and so I always thought of Amy Winehouse as the girl who was a good singer and then she got into drugs and she died at 27, you know. And then you see a picture of her beautiful and then you see a picture of drug affected, and that's what I kind of knew about her. I know a couple of her songs and that's it. Listen to it. Got absolutely obsessed with her.
Yeah.
The first few weeks in Thailand, and just listened to all her stuff. So, Back to Black, I want you to listen to.
Heard it 100 times.
All right. So that was
Brilliant album. I'm happy to listen to it again.
listen to it again,
Yeah.
and she had one of the most amazing voices. Like when you really listen to it, it's a shame she fucking died, right? It's a shame that she got involved. Like she died of alcohol poisoning. It wasn't even over the drugs, but I'm sure the drugs were part of it. You know what I mean? But she apparently used to drink like 2 bottles of whatever every night, you know, and that's what they found next to her. You know.
Did you watch there's a couple of documentaries that often air on SBS, and one of them goes into her life, and there's a lot of footage of her through her development as an artist.
Yeah.
From before the drugs and the alcohol. And that's what I thought you meant. It was that documentary.
No, this is actually a movie. It's
Okay.
quite a
I've
good
not seen
movie.
that.
And
I think her estate hated it and tried to ban it.
Oh, did they?
Tried to get it like cut, yeah.
Okay.
The actress is her twin. Like I can't believe how good of a job she played. But like I didn't really know much about her life with like she fell heavily in love with this guy, man. Almost ruined her life. And most of the album, and you know, you say like the album is about how their life is. No more than Amy Winehouse. She just wrote about exactly what she was feeling. I mean, they're stories, aren't they?
Yeah.
And she had that, you know, she was like, when was it, in 2000s or 90s, 2000s?
She died. She died in the 2010s. Oh, she might have been.
Anyway, she was around in the 2000s when she's hitting her mark, you know, and she had that 1940s, you know, like jazz voice, you know, like it was just, she's just amazing.
Yeah, she is.
I really like, I rediscovered her.
Yeah, well, how cool. I love when you listen to that music on when Spotify suggests song. Sometimes you come across an artist and you go, who's that? That's a cool song. And then you go on this trip where you start.
And that's exactly what I did.
I really enjoy that.
Yeah, and I did. I really enjoyed it. Like I'm just spending all my time listening to all the songs, watching all the clips I could get of it. You know, I just went into this.
And then all of a sudden you go,
and then I just stopped. But I do now listen to it. Like now I've gone back to listen to it, and I really enjoyed like the jazz. You know, like. Mate, she was good. She was good, man.
Phenomenal, yeah.
Unbelievable. And just like so tragic, man.
It's really
you think like at 27, like the music she could have written now, like what she could have produced, you know what I mean?
And she was an all-round. She wasn't just a pretty face who could sing. She wrote her songs.
She wrote her songs. She could play the guitar.
Yeah.
Like in the movie show that she like... At a concert, she didn't play a guitar anymore, but they told her not to play it, you know.
Yeah.
But they're telling her, no, you don't, you shouldn't be playing the guitar, and it should be just you. And she got kind of a bit upset with her, you know, because the guitar was part of it, part of her. But then she never played it. But she was good. So that's my album. So listen to it again.
I will,
and you will, and
happily.
Yeah,
great album.
What an album! What about you? Have you got an album that we should listen to?
Yeah, I reckon I've got it. I reckon I'll say the Wood Brothers album.
Right.
I think it's called Pilgrims.
What is it?
The Wood Brothers.
The Wood.
Yeah, it's in timber wood.
It's
just again, when I discovered them, I went on that trip and listened to everything and that album. But I listened to a lot of their back catalogue. I didn't particularly That's them, 3 guys. As I was learning about them, I just loved how they played their instrument. I really love the drummer. He's a jazz pianist as well as a drummer, and he plays in between the song I don't know, it's just so cool.
All right, I'll definitely listen to that.
That album though, is it Pilgrim? It might not be called that, can't remember. I've got it.
I'll put
What's
it
that
up.
saying? The Wood Brothers?
Yeah, it's their latest album. They released it sort of towards the end of COVID. I don't think they've released another since.
The Wood Brothers. Their last album, what was The Heart is the Hero?
That's it. That's the Hero. That's the single. The Heart is the Hero. The single.
Okay.
That's the single.
Pilgrim's the opening track.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's I like again. It's just raw. 3 guys, double bass, singer, guitar player, drummer.
That on the way home.
And sometimes the drummer steps out from the drum kit and he stands with the 3 of them around one microphone. He plays like this weird. He's got an acoustic guitar, and he turns that into like a percussive instrument.
Oh.
He plays it, and it's so cool. It's so unique. It's so simple, and it's just I just really dig it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, cool. Rocco Models, a few albums, you reckon. She died in 2011.
Yeah.
And also album Frank was also a great album, for sure.
Terrific.
And she was a tortured genius. Yeah, she was, man. She was definitely a tortured genius.
Tell you what, I went to Pearl Jam last week.
Oh, you went?
I went and
wow.
saw Pearl Jam. I went with Morris, who's a massive Pearl Jam fan. I'm not like a huge Pearl Jam fan. I didn't know much about them. One of the best shows I've ever been to.
Yeah, I heard it was great.
Absolutely epic.
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm used to hip hop shows, yeah? So these blokes come out, they just, bounce around for 15, 20 minutes, get the crowd to sing their songs and fuck off.
Yeah.
So, it was just refreshing to see a band come out. They interacted with the fans. It was cool. Like, the fans, were part of it, but just played for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it was just brilliant.
And the musicianship is really good standard, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the audience, because they're an older band, the audience would just know every single song.
Every single word.
I love that.
Every single word.
I love that.
Even their new stuff. One of my favourite tracks of theirs is Black. And
Black's my favourite track.
I got to see them play that, which is something ticked off my list.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, that's a great album. 10.
Yeah,
that's from Black's from 10, or no? Is it from Vitella?
I honestly, I couldn't even tell you. I'm not like I said, I was only introduced to Pearl Jam earlier this year. Yeah. So I was never really heavy into them, but from what I've heard, they're just Eddie Vedder's just a phenomenon with his voice. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Cool, man. This has been really good, man. We're going to give away a couple more books, and I forgot to actually read these kind of things.
I reckon Rocco Moro gets one.
Yeah, I reckon Rocco Moro I'm going to give one, because he asked a few questions, so he'll get one too, Rocco Moro. So send me your details on the email. And also, I saw one over here, Carmel. I know who she is. She wrote, "Hi everyone," then she wrote, "You're a remarkable man, Tony. Can't wait to read your inspirational story." So she gets also a book, so there you go. So then
you ask a question though.
Yeah, I know.
She's made a statement.
She made a statement, but that's fair.
She gets a book.
Yeah, a book. She made a good statement. Man. You're a remarkable man, man. That's what she said about it. Yeah. So it's been really good, man. Like, I hope you've enjoyed it. And as I said, everyone get on there and get yourself a book. Yeah. You just go, the link's below. Pretty easy. Click on the link.
Is the link to the book or to my website?
Well, the links to the Amazon to buy your book. Do you want the link there to your website?
Whichever, man. Yeah, the website's it's a good place if you are wanting to get a feel of the tone of what I've created. You've got some sorry, some songs on there. There's some songs. Yeah, all the albums you'll be able to just stream them free. Listen to those. You'll be able to see some footage of Vietnam, some footage of bands, photos that relate to the book. There's a couple of sample chapters. Normally authors don't put up sample chapters, but I just thought, I'm going to do that. So at least, cause if I can draw people to that, I wanted to just be confident with what I've written rather than just because sometimes people publish books and there's a big hype, but you don't know what you're getting. So I wanted to just have that open and and then people could decide from there if they like the feel, then they can decide. So that's all there. I tried to build a website that's
I'll put the link up for your website and that too.
It's very immersive, the whole concept from the artwork to the book to the music, they just thread together. I wanted it to be like this package where it's not just the book, it's the music.
Yeah.
You if you listen to the music and the lyrics, you'll hear some of the lyrics
I did.
flowing through my words in the book.
I listened to it and I could feel it. And again, we were saying that it's about your life and it's in your music too.
Because it's just.
That's what music is, man. You write about what you're feeling at that moment.
But it's part of that creation. It's one person creating something, so there's going to be threads.
Yeah, 100%. And as I said, everyone get onto the book because I can't talk.
Thank you, mate.
Enough about it, man. Like, it really was well written, man. I really enjoyed every moment of it, man. And you brought me and you bring people through this journey of what happened. But as you said, it's not just this basic, this is what happened. He tells a story.
That's what I tried to not, because it's, when I was first writing some of the earlier drafts, I got caught up in too much detail, because the recovery, recovery isn't an easy subject to talk about and make it entertaining. So it was really hard to find that balance. In the first few drafts, I found that I'd write those drafts and then reread them 6 months later and just go,
it took a long time. Everyone reckons it took 12 years to write the book. Draft after draft, rewrite.
Right, massive. It wasn't 12 years of sitting at my computer.
Of course.
Not sleeping for 12 years. No food.
No.
Thin. I'm about to.
From when you started it to when you posted it was 12
There was a couple of big, massive gaps.
Because then you put it away and then you get stuck back.
And then because I put away and I did the Lion Tamers, and when I started doing the Lion Tamers, it just didn't seem important anymore. So I started doing the Lion Tamers, and then it wasn't until COVID, and then I wrote. I think I'll tell you this, that the story, Happy Feet, which is in the middle. That story there, I pulled that out of the book and I turned that into a short story. Entered it into a writing comp, and it got a third prize. And then I thought, I got something. That's when I knew I got it right. I had the voice.
Then you started to get your groove with the writing and everything.
That was the hardest part, is getting the groove and because telling a story, you can get caught up in telling the story. And apart from our mate Mario, who tells the craziest stories.
Our mate Mario.
That's
another story.
That's another story. But
our mate Mars, not that Mars, our other mate, man. He's the best storyteller I've ever heard, man. So I wanted to capture that kind of energy in the writing. And I remember one chapter when you wrote where you did when you come out of hospital and there was the parade. Well, we won't go too much about it, but the way you read that was amazing.
Because I know. There's certain chapters I just loved writing. It was so enjoyable, and it was just building. I'd get these little twinges of ideas, and that was to blow up this idea of that I've left the hospital, and then there's a street parade to celebrate. And I build it, and I thought I'm going to build it and build it and
you
build
did.
it, and then drop it.
I don't want to ruin it for people, but at one stage I'm thinking, I can't believe they gave him a parade. That's how.
I wanted to make it really convincing.
Yeah, you did. You made it convincing. And then there was another part where you talk about the whole thing, and then all of a sudden you went back and you talked about your trip to Vietnam,
because that's when
broke it up.
That's when I started to feel like it was getting too heavy in the writing of recovery. And I remember when I was in a writing group, one of the guys in the group said, when it was early drafts, he said, you might want to be careful about how much you're writing about the recovery. It's going to get a bit tiring. And I was feeling it physically, this is getting a bit heavy. And then I remembered that scene where it switches back to the beginning of the holiday, and that the guy who did the angiogram, the radiologist, he looked at me and he said, hey, are you the guy from Vietnam? That happened. And when I remembered that, I thought, I'm going to take the story back.
And that's what you did.
I'm assuming, for me, I feel like that's refreshing, because it takes you out of the story into another story.
It did two things, right? Because that's how you ended the chapter. You went, oh, you're the bloke from Vietnam. And then the next chapter, he talks about his trip the 9 days prior, right? But it did two things. It refreshed it,
Yeah.
But you know what it also done?
Brought me back to that point.
No, it brought me back to that point. But then it also, I was waiting. Also, I wanted to hear what happened because you had the what is it? What procedures did you have?
The angiogram.
Yeah, the angiogram. So you had that. So it brought me back. I watched it, but then I was waiting and figured, I want to know what happened now. You know what I mean? So
I'm glad, mate, you've said that because because that's how I felt, and I just wanted that. Cause, like you get caught up in your own story, and you don't know how people are going to perceive it. Yeah. So because you know what's happened, you can feel it, but you don't know how others are going to feel it.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I'm glad you've said that because
that's with anything.
That was the idea.
Like, with books or albums and that, like you do it. But you don't know how it's going to be perceived by people, right. You just hope for the best, So make sure everyone gets onto it, man. As I said, it's a great book, it's a great story. Thanks for coming, man. This has been a great chat, man.
My pleasure.
It's been a great chat.
Thank you for joining us. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks, brother. And you are my brother. Yeah,
well, it's great to reconnect with you after so many years, man. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell your audience this. We connected on the phone after a little while. We really haven't been in touch for about 10 years.
Yeah.
So I reached out to you. You reached out to me.
I reached out to you, and I said, because you were bringing out the book, and I said, mate, if you want anything, like I could promote it on the show, we could talk about it. That's how we reconnected. Yeah.
So we called each other, had a phone call. Hey, man, quick call, man, just say hello, and couldn't get him off the phone. 5 hours.
I've been in your position.
Okay. 5 hours. Hey, I've got to go. Oh, yeah. And then another hour goes past, and then 5 hours.
It was a
5-hour phone call. And then the week after, I called him again. We spoke again, and that was a 3 hour. I reckon he was driving trains.
Yeah. Don't say that, yeah, probably.
I love it.
So it was a sequence of that, and so it's been really cool to reconnect.
Reconnect and remember the past, and that's also just enjoy the story, and getting into it. So it's been good, man. So that's it. I hope everyone's enjoyed that.
Good show.
Yeah, 100%. Man.
Very good and very insightful. Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
It's an amazing story, man.
Yeah,
inspirational.
I can't wait to get
I know you don't like it sometimes, like when people talk to you, but man, like you did it. I know, like you had to do it. Like you're fighting for your life. It's surviving. You're doing it, but you did it. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you could say that. Like people, like what other choice? But you did it. You've gone through this massive thing, and you've come the other end of it. Like you've come out with flying colours, man. So fantastic.
Before we sign off, you said something earlier. You said a word, and you corrected yourself very quickly. I want to touch on that word just quickly. You said the word worthless. Then you instantly corrected yourself. You said not really worthless. But I understand what you've gone through and what you're going to continue going through, and I just want you to know from a complete stranger, you're absolutely not worthless, and what you bring, to the world is, so invaluable.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Nah, just thank you.
No, 100%. You're 100%, man. What you bring, mate, you bring so much, man. You know what? With your book and your your talks, which I've never heard your talks, but you've gone out there. I guarantee you've helped some people out there, man. And if someone can do that, I mean, that's all you can ask, can you? Yeah. So fantastic, man.
Thank you.
No drama. I'm gonna look where this, mate. I need glasses better. You're worse, man.
I'm worse. I can't even see you.
Well, yeah.
I think it's here. I think, is that what it says? Yeah, that says there. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
All right.
We'll see you next week. Next week, actually, we've got another guest. We've got a female coming on.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Suit and tie?
No. She's gonna put us in our place, I reckon.
Can't wait.
I love it. So we've got someone coming in, and we've already discussed what we're going to talk about. I reckon there's going to be some women and men issues there. So
that's cool.
So it's going to be
I live for this.
Hardcore. Yeah, no, it's going to be good. So everyone, make sure you catch up next week, and that's it. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for joining us, guys. See you next week.
And go Blues.
Cheers.
Go Blues always.
Go Blues.
Your job is not your life. It is just a job. I shall explain the reasons. Number one, your company is not your family. Companies exist primarily for profit and are not responsible for your personal well-being. Number two, your colleagues are not your friends. Keep in mind that people have their own interests and motivations. Number 3, if something bad happens to you, your company can easily replace you. Number 4, stop believing corporate propaganda, which is designed to brainwash and enslave you to a job. Number 5, come to your workplace, do your job, get paid, and go home. Remember that there is more to life than just your career.